What's good? What's good? What's happening, peoples? Rip last stream? Yeah, we're gonna have to continue on. The stream crashed yesterday. It wasn't like starting back up again for YouTube, so I was like, whatever. We'll just continue it tomorrow. Respiratory, MX, Megan, Dry, Aloof, Smith, Glingle, Montana, Nalio, Chino, Ethereal, Big. What's going on? Zainab, Jimbo, Dominic, Boone, Jordan, Andre. Run it back from the beginning? No. You playing Fortnite today? No. What talismans do I run with the Maracas Hammer? Shard of Alexander, and then probably just damage negation, I guess. If you're going to use spells, then maybe the Flux Canvas Talisman. Depending on how many times you're using the skill or charged heavy attacks, maybe the Blade of Mercy, I guess. What's up, Yogurt? How things, bro? I wonder what reaction you will have when you see the #1 weapon. I don't know. We'll see. Great Katana level 1 setup needs 18 dexterity. Well, dexterity tier. Probably like Opaline tier with like the Ritual Shield Talisman. Maybe you can take an attack and probably still just repeating thrust, I want to say. Could do you pretty well with like Blood Flame Blade. Could you even use Blood Flame Blade? Maybe you have like the Arcane chest piece. You could probably use Blood Flame Blade because you need two more Arcane. Suede or Sudenham. What's up, man? I don't know how to speak sometimes. Rusty's tier so far? It's not too bad. It's not bad. There's like obviously like about 5 things that are like I'll put this way higher. I'll put this one way lower. Well, a handful of things, you know. Some things he just doesn't like know about, like their true potential about certain types of attacks. But it's not that bad. It ain't that bad. It ain't that bad. Yeah, but we got to like number 30 or some shit like that, and the stream crashed. So we're going to continue finishing this off. And then we're going to go rank the incantations. I was going to make like a Google Doc sheet list and just rank them all so I can make a video about them. Coming up soon. Hopefully. Have you ever thought about making a video on how to fight all the main bosses for people that struggle? I have thought about it. And I feel like there already are videos out there, people that could probably break it down better in terms of all their mix-ups. Like, there's some things that, I don't know. Probably some things I could say about it. I don't know. He has not talked to the Blood Fiend's arm yet. I don't know. Which one's, like... Okay, we'll go with the ones like actually, we'll go over, at the end. Go over the ones that I disagree with the most, I guess. Actually, no, go over it now. Blood Fiend, Sacred Spirit, probably will put a bit higher. So, like, a Tooth Whip a bit higher. Like, these are, like, not too bad. Like, I don't mind talking about these. Spirit Glaive, whatever. I'll probably put that lower. I'll put the Spirit Sword above or below that one. Bonnie's Butchering Knife probably would have put a bit higher. Devonia's Hammer probably would have put it a bit higher. Smith's Grip Dagger could have gotten higher. Golem Fist should have gotten, like, way higher from my list. Not the worst things in the world. Like, some of the perfume bottles could have gotten higher. I would have put the Soot Spear even lower than that. Probably put Arnspark Bow a bit higher. Blood Fiend's Fork is like S tier. Montana with the gifted sub. Thank you, man. Perfume bottles could have gotten higher. That should have gotten lower, honestly. Relana's Twin Blades could have gone a bit higher. Great Sword of Radan maybe could have gone higher. I don't know. It's not that bad. Yeah. Great Katanas should get way higher, in my opinion. I would have put the Sword of Night a bit higher, too. Like, most parts, like, it's okay, like, placement. It's, like, roughly around about there. I put it with the Gazing Finger higher, too. Starline Sword, I would have put a lot lower. There's a few things. My list would obviously look very different, but... About to fight the Putrescence, what do you recommend? Well, it's incredibly weak to holy damage, so anything holy damage related.
40. One of the biggest reasons this works so well on the demi-human staff is because it's a catalyst you can easily get to in like 5 minute formats. This sort of to the DL, dude. Or I've just...
I think it's crashed when I was talking about...
Grateful this
thingy.
game doesn't come with a durability meter like its predecessors, if such a thing were even possible. This circ looks like someone flattened a Pepsi can with a hydraulic press, cut out the center of it, and then started using it as a weapon. And it somehow still gets better guard boost than at least 2 small shields in the game. If you're into guard counters but think you're also above using shields for some reason, the Curse Blade circ can go.
Guard counter builds are really good without using a shield because the deflecting tier exists. Yeah. When did the Rusty video come out? Like 2 days ago or something like that?
Oh, surprisingly far. The unique skill might require the traffic clearance of an airplane, and I'm not crazy about the recovery time after using it either, but it can be boosted by so many different talismans and builds that I'm willing to use it anyways. Even the kick at the end of the combo gets boosted by Shattered Stone, which is honestly just kind of
Okay, so the Curse Blade Circ, I think I crashed you last time. Ew, ants, disgusting. I don't look at this. So backhand blades have like decent movesets. Their guard counters are honestly insane. They do like ridiculous amounts of damage. This one's probably one of the best ones for that. Regular backhand blades could just output more damage because you could use things like Crag Blade with those guard counters and just do more stance damage too. But this one gets like really good guard boost. And this actually can be like the highest damaging backhand blade as well. John, thank you for the sub, man. 8 months, damn. W's for John. So yeah, with the Curse Blade Circ. What I was saying, yeah, it doesn't get as good as a dexterity scaling as the other ones, but it gets like a decent strength scaling. So with like a quality build, it can actually like out damage all the other backhand blades. It does also get passive bleed as well. Now the skill can be very high damaging, especially with the multi-hit talismans. It can just shred, and that follow-up kick can do some decent stance damage. It's like 30-something stance damage for the entire combo. It's not too bad. It can lunge in pretty far. Now the problems with the skill is that it does really, really bad blood loss build up. It only does like less than 100 bleed build up, which is like you could do like 2 light attacks with this weapon and it'll do more bleed build up than the entire skill combo, which is like really annoying. And the recovery frames are incredibly long. Like if you're gonna use the skill, you take forever to stand back up again, and it's incredibly frustrating. So it does a decent job at like stun locking, proccing the multi-hit talismans. It's good damage. The guard counters are fine. I think this is a fine placement for it. Like I would put it like A tier myself for this weapon. Because like overall, I think the regular backhand blades just do a better job, but like this one is not bad by any means.
The unique skill might either, but at the end of the to do that. Number 29, the Lizard Greatsword. I fucking hate how my character holds this thing. Don't you know that's not where you grab a lizard? Right? Like their tails pop off and grow. I'm thinking of a different animal. Wait, no, I'm not. That's right. No, someone already corrected me in the comments. Who fucking cares? Not a single person gives a shit about this greatsword, and although I can't verify that through concrete evidence, I'm going to tell you why you should anyways. The projectile it launches on a heavy attack still receives the poise damage of a regular R1, but the attack itself receives a slight penalty to its poise MV anyways to compensate for the projectile, which really only brings it up to par with charged heavies from other greatswords, and the damage unfortunately works the same way. Status, on the other hand, of course it's fucking status. That's what it always is. Status buildup receives no penalty at all on a charged heavy, which means both the charged heavy and the projectile have a status MV of 100, which is just normal status buildup. On bleed,
yeah, even like the regular heavy attack does the same thing, yeah.
Infusions, you'll be dealing 200 buildup on a point-blank charged heavy as a base on a fucking greatsword. Number 28.
It's decent. Like the problems with a lizard greatsword is that like it still can be inconsistent. So like when you use it at point blank range, sometimes like the actual projectile part can just overshoot, and in that instance, you're doing like way less damage than every other greatsword. You're doing less stance damage too. Also, it's being that it's a projectile based weapon, it can't be buffed with things like Crag Blade, which is like super annoying. So the only purpose of using it would be with those like status effect builds, because the projectile and the weapon both get 100 status NVs. So you're doing twice as much status build up than you normally would with the charged or the heavy attack at point blank range. But it's like super inconsistent. The damage really isn't there. You get less synergy with different types of skills. I just don't really care for it that much. And I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not sure if they fixed it, but it wasn't working with things like the Axe Talisman at some point. I think they probably fixed it by now. Yeah. Not really too big on it. Like, you can do twice as much status build up with a heavy attack, but like, I don't know. There's so many things that could proc status effects way faster than something like this could.
Charge, great shield.
That's not the worst placement, I guess. I'd probably put it a bit lower.
It's a shield with physical AR.
Scurry with the prime sub. Thank you, man. W's for Scurry. With the 9 months. Damn. 9 months already. Doing this again? Yeah, well, we did the base game weapons. We ranked it to his base game ranking. Now we're doing his DLC ranking. So someone pointed to me out earlier. I actually missed it, but he said it in the intro when I was listening to it. I guess I just missed it somehow. But he's ranking the shields based on how they perform as weapons because he's already ranked the shields based on blocking performance. So, will you play Kazan, the Berserker game? Probably, yeah. We'll see. I think there's going to be like a beta coming out soon, right? Have there been any egregious placements? There's like some things I probably like heavily disagree with. We'll probably go over it at the end. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Anyway.
That can keep up with most colossals, so it's already coming out of the gate swinging.
And then deep one with the sub as well.
Honestly, this shouldn't count,
you guys are going crazy.
which is silly.
For its life. The 28-pound wide load you'll be carrying into the arena is a tad cumbersome, but with this much attack power, you can easily get away with just not even having a weapon in your build at all, and relying solely on bashes and counterattacks. This is still going to give you way less attack than if you were to just slap a heavy infusion on a colossal sword, but the 90 guard boost is also uncommonly strong, even for great shields. It's literally the highest guard boost you can find in the game. Maining a shield as a
fan with the raid as well. I didn't take a break. W's for Finn. How was your stream? What'd you guys get up to? Thank you for popping by. Yeah, the Verticree Great Shield is like the best Great Shield in terms of guard boost. The Fingerprint Shield is like just a bit slower, but the Fingerprint Shield can be infused with different types of skills, so I'm just going to value it more. So if you actually wanted to use things like Shield Crash, using the Fingerprint Shield is better because you can infuse it with like different types of status effects if you wanted to, or different elements, and it's going to have better elemental damage boost. So I think the Fingerprint Shield is more versatile. And this thing's skill and Morse charge is basically just useless. It does like no damage. You just meant to like stagger enemies. It's kind of annoying. But yeah, it's still really good though.
The weapon also unfortunately leaves you without a critical hit option. But if
it's going to be like shield poking builds, this is just the one to use. This is like the best one for shield poking. That's it. Because it gets the highest guard boost and it still gets you like, you know, decent damage negation. But yeah. Why is there a stick figure dragging its butt in the thumbnail? What? His thumbnail? I don't know.
You can clear out your pockets for 28 pounds of iron whoop-ass. I'm sure you have enough.
It's a good offense weapon, or at least better than something like the Great Sword of Damnation. Yeah, you put it higher than that, yeah. Did some Cyberpunk today? Nice, good job.
Room left over for like a My Gooch, or whatever the fuck that one dagger was named. Who needs gloves anyways? Number 27, the Dragon Hunter's Great Katana. 67s in both strength and dex, making it the only quality affinity Great Katana, the only quality affinity katana for that matter, that starts working right out of the box just as God intended. I think the introduction of this weapon also opens up a neat little discussion about what exactly makes dragons and large enemies so gruelingly not fun to fight, because a lot of that just comes down to the game leaving the player ill-equipped. Fighting dragons is fun as fuck when you have a sword that's taller than you are and can shoot a giant wave of dragon aids into its face, and most other anti-dragon weaponry in the base game ironically tends to carry some other drawback that turns into a huge inconvenience when your target is a dragon. I'm sure trying to take out a stealth bomber with a pair of garden shears would be a pretty boring waste of time too. Number 26.
Yeah, so... Ooh, is that the fucking...
Milady. It's an...
What's going on, Yui? We'll get to that one. Anyway. So, this is a good placement for the Dragon Hunter's Katana. Anyway, fuck, I got stun-locked for a second there. Okay, so I like the regular Great Katana better, which you put way lower in the list. This one is like the lowest damaging Great Katana, because it does get a quality scaling, but the scalings are not that good. It gets bonus damage against dragons, which is perfectly fine, because, you know, dragons can be a pain in the ass. But there's plenty of things that can, like, melt dragons anyway, if you just use certain types of, spells, or even some types of skills out there. But this one can do it just as well as them, so that's fantastic. But the skill itself, it's like a nice projectile attack, doesn't do like the most amazing damage. At point blank range, you can do some decent stance damage. The uncharged version is practically just useless, but yeah, it's a solid weapon, okay damage, does get some bleed, right? And it gets a nice projectile attack, so it's fine. But like, it doesn't do anything that amazing to warrant me, like, you know, putting it above something like the Great Katana. Like, the regular Great Katana is just kind of cracked. Because certain types of skill combinations and the fact that it can be infused just makes it more versatile, and it can just get more damage too, so it does alright. Anyway, moving on to the Milady.
Garden shears would be 26. A pretty boring waste of time. most consistently useful weapon ashes in the DLC, so it's already miles ahead of Rolana's twin bitches despite being able to find it without downing a single boss. It's capable of a really comfortable 6-hit attack.
Alana's Twin Blades is not that bad. Where did he put it again? I forget where he put it. He put it like somewhere towards the middle. Yeah, put it there. It got buffed to be in a decent spot, and like the Rolana's cameo changes are kind of cracked.
Attack string when two-handed, building up a total of 500% status, and with attack MVs that all stay reasonably close to 100. Most of the
That's some nice editing right there.
scalings on the different affinities are dollar store pre-owned Goodwill hand-me-downs that never go above a B, but the highest scaling here is actually given to the occult affinity, and with the 60 in the appropriate stat, it's even able to outpace the keen affinity in damage. Number 25.
A lot of weapons tend to work that way. It's pretty cool. Obviously you can't buff it though, and you kind of lose out on some types of skill options. But anyway. Milady is like one of the best weapons in the game. Purely because of, it's like, not purely because of wing stance, but like wing stance is like the main reason why you put it in the top 10, because wing stance is like absolutely fucking busted insane skill. One of the best skills in the game. Because you can just keep spamming it over and over again. It can stun lock smaller enemies. Like, it complements the weapon perfectly. You get like an insane lunging attack that does piercing damage. You can combo both together, and the Rolana's cameo can just add 45% more damage to that entire combo, and you're out damaging things like colossal swords with just like one hit. It's just ridiculous. And obviously not to mention that light greatswords just get an amazing moveset. They pair really well with multi-hit talismans. Really good combos. The charged heavy attacks do just as much stance damage as a regular greatsword. And just hit multiple times. They also get really good guard counters as well. Like, they're just fantastic weapons. The only thing that I don't like about them is probably like the power sensing combos, and like that's about it. Like, that's it. Everything else about them is basically flawless. But like when you pair this alongside any other type of skill, so like if you pair it alongside things like impaling thrust, or like spinning slash or whatnot, it's gonna be better paired alongside other types of weapons. But like it gets wing stance, so.
Above a B, but the highest scaling here is outpace the keen affinity
and it gets good
damage.
scalings in basically every single infusion. Every single infusion gets good scalings. Flowerstone Gavel, I'd put this one higher too. A lot higher. I actually really like the Flowerstone Gavel. I'll talk about
25,
it. Let
the Flowerstone Gavel. Being a good casting stick that's capable of a few good tasers isn't too synonymous with being a good overall weapon in my eyes, but the Gavel itself has plenty more things about it that still make it great. And I'm really only leading with that preamble because Flower Dragon Bolt is, by itself, incredibly powerful.
I never got to the stun lock smaller enemies is supposed to be a big plus, like anything can smash through smaller enemies. I can value stun locking, when I say smaller enemies, I mean enemies like knights. Because like the light attack of a light greatsword, or the light attacks of like a katana, light attacks of a straight sword, they're not going to stagger enemies like knights or omens. So when I mean like smaller enemies, I mean like enemies like that. I think like someone like this guy as well. If you use like a light attack, it's not going to stagger them. But the wing stance light attack combo that you can keep spamming, or that triple swing that you can keep spamming over and over again, that can stun lock smaller, like that's what I mean by smaller enemies. I don't mean like soldiers and stuff. I meant like knights and omens. Which I guess is like medium-sized enemies, I guess. Those ones.
Powerful as a unique skill. The Gavel deals exclusively pierce damage, which even further helps out the weapon's anti-dragon properties, but the skill itself is where things start to get confusing. The lightning damage on the skill only improves with Arcane, which is already unexpected, but having...
One thing he cares a lot about is for like things to make sense when it comes to scalings. It's like... Obviously this one is a bit confusing. But he talks about it a lot. It's like, why the hell does this have this type of scaling and this type of scaling?
Access to good lightning incantations requires a decent amount of faith, one of the only stats the weapon seems to not care about. If you don't have a Dragon Communion seal, this pushes it in the direction of working less with lightning incantations and more with lightning affinity weapons like Bolt of Grandsax, Dragon King's Cragblade, and weapon ashes like Thunderbolt and Lightning Slash and other lightning abilities that scale only with dex. Number 24.
Anyway, let's talk about it. Oh, not the love, like this. 3 weapons back to back, that should all be in the S tier. That's fine. Anyway. So the Flowerstone Gavel. Good arcane weapon. Obviously, it's a hammer that gets piercing damage. Doesn't get like the most ridiculous high AR. But in terms of its skill, actually kind of cracked. It's incredibly easy to use. You can fully charge it. Does really good damage. It actually does debuff enemies to make them take more lightning damage, which it's currently bugged to where they only take about 17% more damage for like 20 seconds, which is still really good. But the reason why I actually like it more so as an arcane weapon than actually a faith weapon, is because it gives you lightning damaging option with an arcane build. Because when you have an arcane build, that's like one of the only damage types that you don't really actually have access to is lightning damage. So this way, you actually have a way to just get lightning damage. You get a piercing damaging weapon. You get a good like stance breaking option as well, and it can just help complement like your just dragon based builds. It's really good. You don't necessarily actually need to use this alongside a faith build just to maximize the damage of your faith spells, especially because that you can just use the skill without the requirements, and it actually could still work as a debuff. Like you could just use this skill with a faith build. You don't have to meet the requirements of arcane, and it can still debuff, and then you can just switch back to your faith build. So like you don't necessarily need for it to be faith infused or have a faith scaling just to be able to synergize with this thing. So yeah, I think it's great the way it is. And the skill is just broken. Like it's really easy. It tracks right towards the enemy. It does not consume much FP, and it just does like a big boy damage. It's great. One of like the easiest playthroughs I had was a skill only run with this thing.
Thunderbolt. The Death Knight's long-haft.
I like this one a lot, but it's not the worst placement. What's up, Tight? How things, man?
Axe. A lot of the top contenders usually have some hidden advantage or individual quirk that allows it to perform as well as it does. The Mesmer Spear can be thrown, the Bloodfiend Arm does a little goosh on the heavy attacks, shit like that. The Death Knight Long-Haft Axe heads clear in the opposite direction and becomes a cornerstone example of it. None of that,
So
the
good.
stagger value is actually 65 on this one cornerstone example. The Death Knight Long-Haft Axe heads clear in the opposite direction and becomes a cornerstone example of it.
So nice. So nice.
None of that, the stagger value is actually 65 on this one attack if you have the fucking Boulevard of Broken Dreams equipped or some nonsense. No secrets, no dishonesty, just a straight up warmonger with very appealing unique skill if taking an active role in the video game you're playing just suddenly doesn't appeal to you anymore. But the damage itself with basic attacks isn't really that outstanding because of the awkward damage split. Lightning damage makes up a third of its total AR, which is something I'd be okay with if the weapon had good faith scaling, but much to my surprise, it actually doesn't. Only 54 versus the 99 it has in strength. In fact, the reason the skill ends up being so strong is that the initial slam powers up with weapon level, while the follow-up lightning bolt scales with faith. And since
that is actually not true. The follow-up lightning bolt actually scales with dexterity, which is like super fucking weird. It's even worse, but yeah, most of the damage is coming off the slam, which actually thankfully is just weapon, your weapon AR. So it doesn't really matter. So the fact that it gets a bad face scaling obviously kind of hurts it with its synergy with spells, which is probably like its major downside. But the skill does like really good damage. It does like 30 something stance damage. And it's the fact that it's an iframe dodge directly into an attack means you can just keep spamming it over and over again. Makes it one of the most fun skills to use. And this is very rewarding. Really good tracking, decent AoE, good hyper armor. Fantastic. And it gets the Crescent Moon heavy attack as well, with that nice horizontal swipe. So it gets a fantastic moveset too. It's great. And like the heavy attacks of Great Axes has got buffed when the DLC drops too to get more damage. So I think this thing is S tier. It's great.
People tend to run this as a faith weapon, the lightning bolt ends up being stupid powerful. It's still really good, it's definitely better than the twin axes, but I think it might be time to admit the unique skill has hard carried this great axe since day one. Number 23.
Yeah, but it looks like the weapon damage is that bad. And the moveset's good. Red Bear's Claw. These are like 4 S tier weapons back to back to back. Nice.
The Red Bear's Claw. Claws and fists have exceptionally short range, but that gets exchanged for, well, just about everything else. Damage, status, the ire of half the PvP community, it's all there in a nice convenient package deal. The unique skill has a very useful perk, however, that makes up for, I don't know, like 20% of this. I'd still much rather have the claws of a bear that just never clipped his nails for range reasons, so I can solve that problem without flailing my body around like a tropical storm victim. But the shockwave produced by the Red Bear Hunt does linger for a fraction of a second, and it consumes a reasonable enough amount of FP and stamina that it can be used as a main attack if you want to. The feints on Beast Claw weapons are also kinda nice, and the lingering hitbox on the skill can be used to rack up bleed status extremely quickly. Number 20.
Okay, so the Red Bear's Claws are amazing, but typically when it comes to Beast Claws, I don't really like them as much because they're just outclassed by like regular claws, because they have like similar range, similar like movesets and like skill options, but like claws will just have much faster attacks, and they'll hit simultaneously and just get ridiculously high DPS, and Beast Claws are just like as slow as things like Colossal Weapons. Now, the Red Bear's Claw can just basically negate that entirely because of its skill Red Bear Hunt, Red Bear Hunt can like stun lock enemies, and it basically it's kind of what I wanted like the Beast Claws like light attacks to have to begin with. Like I have a hype rummer attack that's not too fast, but like it hits hard, and like it can stun lock enemies. It just does well. Like every single like small weapon in these games has to be like really quick, and just like not as good damage. Like sometimes you can have like a slow weapon that hits really hard and have it be short range. It'd be pretty cool aesthetically. And this skill just makes up for it. And you can see it was like 8 FP as well. He said stamina cost is not that bad, but actually is pretty bad. The stamina cost is really high. You have to have lots of stamina to pair alongside with this thing, which is like its only downside. But yeah, it can stun lock enemies. With that lingering effect, it does really good bleed build up. Like it can very well just replace the light attack combos altogether. And the Beast Claws, the rest of the moveset's actually not too bad. Like their running heavy attacks are like amazing. So that's pretty well. Has some things that it does nicely. But yeah, the fact that you get like a hype realm or attack that can just stun lock enemies, trade out, do amazing bleed build up. Like it cheeses like a lot of things. It's amazing. Amazing.
The lingering Leda's sword. My only
Why was the Milady below this one?
real complaint here is I guess someone forgot to turn friendly fire off for the ailments, because proccing a status like rot or frostbite and then using the skill just results in the status you inflicted being cleansed as well. Bit of a dick move, but not something you can't play around. I wasn't sure how seriously I should have taken the item description, but very seriously it turns out. Like, do you see how important this shit is now? This is also why number scalings are vastly more preferred over letters, because it wasn't until I looked it up when I saw the sword has twice as much faith scaling as it does strength. Something I would have predicted anyways, but it's nice to see the numbers actually back it up. Number 21.
The what are you talking about here? Twice as much faith scaling as strength. Oh, strength. Okay, cool. This is very much just a dexterity. Okay, what? I don't know what happened here. So Leda's sword. Okay, so it's just a decent damaging dexterity light greatsword. It's not going to hit as hard as the Milady, obviously, because it's split holy damage for one. And in terms of its skill that it gets, it's a decent quick projectile. It doesn't get that good at damage because, one, it doesn't actually work with the Shard of Alexander. It's still currently bugged. But it's a quick projectile that you can use any single time that enemies get a bit further away from you. I would just use this skill. It's nice. It tracks right towards them. It does okay. I actually like it. It makes for like fights. What am I trying to say here? It makes the flow of the fight just flow really nicely. Because you have like a quick projectile attack. I just always like to have one of those things. But like, it's not the greatest thing, but it actually does do piercing damage. And actually mainly does physical damage. Because it actually does do scales of weapon AR, not just faith. So it actually mainly does physical damage, which is pretty funny. But it still doesn't really hit that hard. And the damage is not as good as the Milady. And the fact that it does remove status effects is a downside in PvE. Because if you're going to have like a somewhat of a faith build, you're going to be using things like, you know, Scarlet Aeonia or Rotten Butterflies, and this thing just straight up removes that. Or if you want to use Chilling Mist, it's going to remove the Frost proc. So yeah, I think it's more of a downside. It's an okay weapon. It's fine. It's fun to use. Skill is okay. But I wish it actually, you know, worked with the Shard of Alexander. And I wish it had a much better faith scaling, because it gets like a D scaling in faith. Like, give it a B scaling. Please. Okay. Why can't we have like a B scaling in 2 different stats? Like, why not? Like, they have something against that for some reason. Especially when like something like the Moonveil Katana gets 2 B scalings. Why can't this one get 2 B scalings? Come on, dude. This was used in the promo art of the game. Please.
Shit is would have predicted anyways.
Yeah, it's not as good as the Milady though. No way.
But it's nice to see the numbers actually back it up. Number 21, Euphoria. It needs a little bit of maintenance here and there, but if you can land enough hits to properly spool up the skill, it fares pretty nicely against most standard enemies. Might have a bit of bad luck using it against DLC bosses though, since everyone here fights like they have a fucking coke problem, but I can at least say that both the twin blade and the attached skill is noticeably above average. It takes around 30 seconds for the blades to fully power back down if you don't hit anything with it, which is much longer than I was expecting. So you can put away a small enemy or something with a basic attack chain and then just hold on to the charge for a while if you don't immediately need to use it. The weapon scalings are well, they're not. They're okay, I guess. Pretty disappointing considering this twin blade is supposed to be some secret treasure fashioned from one of God's kidney stones or whatever the fuck. But I guess the attack buff granted by the luster does take care of some of that. Number 20.
Okay, so it actually... The buff can actually last longer than 30 seconds. It's just based on the amount of hits, and it can like stack up for like fucking ever. So as long as you're hitting things, you're just gonna add like a few seconds to your timer. And once you hit like the threshold of like 30 seconds, it's like the first buff. Once you hit the threshold of like the second buff, is like a minute or something like that. And you can very well just like hit enemies a bunch of times. And this buff can like last like 5 minutes. And you can just, obviously it goes away once you use the skill. So it can last like a very long time. And it builds up with just one charged heavy attack, which charged heavy attacks, the twin blades, are extremely powerful. So this one charged heavy attack will gain the first luster effect, and the second charged heavy attack will just gain the second one. And then you have a buff for like over a minute that just gives you like what, an extra 130 something holy damage, and a skill that can just work like combo to zero. Now he did mention in like in the deals against DLC bosses that skill is not going to be like the best thing to use, because like if they get like smaller openings, not going to be the most amazing thing. But with a lot of enemies being weaker to holy damage in the DLC, it could just help counteract that. And if you just have like one good opening, that's all you really need to just melt a bunch of bosses. Like this thing is definitively S tier. And it can be like the highest damaging twin blade if you have like that luster effect ×2. So yeah, it's amazing. Really good face scaling too, so it's going to synergize perfectly with spells. Shit is just cracked. They buffed it to be like, when it first came out, it was like dog shit. Not dog shit, but like incredibly mid. So they buffed it to actually be in a really nice spot and worthy of it being a hidden item. So this shit is fucking incredible. Fucking incredible. So hopefully we don't see anything else that's like that bad ahead of this list. I'm kind of forgetting what weapons are in the DLC, but I feel like I'm going to see at least 10 weapons and I'm going to be like, why is the Euphoria, the Red Bear's Claw, Death Knight Long Haft Axe, Flowerstone Gavel, Milady, and the Great Katana? It's fine. We'll see.
Considering this for the Mesmer Soldier's Spear.
This is a great weapon too. Fantastic weapon too. I'm actually not too bad about this placing. I like these weapons more than this one, honestly.
See that lance? Fuck that lance. Nice quality scaling on a great spear that doesn't even need to be infused. Base damage that could make a dragon piss its pants. Weighs less than most other great spears without any expense to range or power. A 2-hit R2 that disintegrates kneecaps. Occult scaling is way too good for no reason. Cold infusion is also pretty strong due to 3 moderately high scalings. And it's all tied to one of the most boring, unassuming weapon designs I think Blender is capable of producing. I'm not kidding. This weapon took like 10 minutes to make. They probably made another spear, shaved off all the embellishments until there was nothing left but the uncolored model of a thin cylinder with a triangle on top, threw some recolors on it and shipped it out. And you know what? It looks fucking fantastic. Number 19.
Yeah, so the Mesmer Soldier Spear is probably the best infusible great spear. It just beats out the lance in terms of damage, and it gets the better heavy attack, which that's going to be like the best use for this thing is going to be like a charged heavy attack build. And potentially like maybe a Braggart's Raw build as well, but that just might be outclassed by the Knight Rider's Glaive still, because I'm pretty sure that just still gets more damage. But yeah, the heavy attack can just destroy things, so it just like melts everything in the game really easily. Now I think for the most part with all other different types of skills, like if you were to go with like an Impaling Thrust build, like a Repeating Thrust build, Blood Tax build, I think the Sword Lance is going to beat it out, because the Sword Lance literally out damages this thingy. So that one's going to be the better option. But if you don't really care for the heavy thrusting sword moveset and you like the Great Spear moveset better because you just like the stagger potential a bit more, or you probably like the power sensing potential, then Mesmer Soldier Spear has its uses there. So not too mad at this placement. I probably would put it higher depending what he's going to put higher in this list. But it's great. It's great. But the existence of the sword lance kind of makes it drop a little bit. But it's fantastic there.
Through some Myth Script Shield with a...
I'm not mad at this placement. I'd put these weapons higher, but I'm not mad about it being around about here.
Blessed Blue Dew Talisman.
You hated the sword lance when it came out? Yes, and I was wrong. I was wrong. I can be wrong sometimes. And I was wrong then.
3 FP per skill becomes precisely nothing. Without any exaggeration whatsoever, you can use this skill with 3 FP left and have another one ready to go in exactly 5 seconds. You probably weren't going to do this either way, but just in case you're thinking about it, no. Those Faith and Int scalings are just scandalously bad, and so is the Dex scaling if I feel like being mean. 63 Strength, 27 Dex, and a fucking 9 in everything else after it. Just level strength and don't worry about anything else. Discus Hurl only pays attention to weapon level anyways, so as long as you have it maxed, it doesn't...
He hated the sword lance. I didn't hate the sword lance. I didn't like the Great Spear heavy attack that it got. Like, I knew it got decent damage. I didn't realize exactly how much damage that it got. Like, I didn't know that it out damaged the fucking rusted anchor when I first looked at it. I was like, okay, this is like the highest damaging thrusting sword, but he gets the heavy attack of the Great Spear. Because one thing that I really like, or the best thing about the heavy thrusting sword, is the running heavy attack. And the running heavy attack of the Great Spear is just worse in my opinion. So like, that was one thing that I didn't like about it. But the guard counters of Great Spears are better than heavy thrusting swords, and it gets the really good guard counter. And the fact that this gets ridiculous AR, like, it's, who cares, right?
really even matter. I swear I remember the stagger values being higher than this at some point, but the initial toss-up has a 1, and the tracking hit that comes afterwards has a 2, which is...
I think he thinks that because it has better stagger potential than he normally thinks, because it tracks towards the head, and when you're getting a headshot, you're going to stagger a bit better. So, like, typically it doesn't really stagger that well, but if it tracks right towards the head, and if you're getting a headshot, that's like 50% more damage and like 50% more stance damage, and it staggers a lot better. It's great.
It's like barely anything. It is pretty cool that both hits can nail the same target, though, if you do it up close. Number 18.
I'm very concerned as to what's going to be above this, because he's like, there's like about 5 or 6 S-tier weapons in this last 10. So I'm just concerned as to what's going to be above this. Because like these ones will be like my top 10. It feels like feels like my top 10 is in like he's like number 20 area. Anyway, yes, Midscript Shield 3 FP for like actually decent damage is kind of absurd. Like you can pair it alongside any single strength build. If you're just lacking a projectile option, Midscript Shield. Just go with it. It's great.
The backhand blade. You have no idea how tempting it was to just write a single sentence saying this weapon is hard carried by the ashes you can attach to it, and I think maybe like 2 people would have disagreed with me. But
No.
Honestly, the more I use it, the more disingenuous I think that begins to sound.
Thank you.
This whole weapon class might have one of the most versatile movesets on any weapon, period. Most of the
Thank God.
And attack chain obviously involves double hits, so you should already be thinking about potential ways to use status, winged swords, godskin cloth, all the good ones. But you also have a 6-hit light string with both slashes and thrusts, and the one-handed charged heavy covers an honestly problematic amount of distance. No joke, this shit just pushes you right through the kitchen and into the sink.
Well, like the 2-handed charged heavy attack does the same thing, and it's just better because it hits with 2 weapons.
You slipped on a banana peel. Number 17.
God damn it. Okay, so, backhand blades are honestly insane. This thing gets an S scaling and dexterity. I don't see every single infusion is cracked. S scaling and dexterity. With a cold infusion, this thing gets a B scaling in both. Like, it gets, like, ridiculous amounts of damage with a cold infusion. Like, it's absurd. The moveset itself, the light attack combos are outclassed by the curved sword. The running heavy attack is just, like, just as good as the running attack on the curved sword, probably even better. I think it does a bit more stance damage. And I think, actually, part of it does piercing damage, too. The skills are amazing. Blind Spots and Swift Slash, they're really good. Swift Slash is a bit, like, bugged and weird at the moment. But both are, like, potentially S-tier options. The heavy attacks are just incredible. They lunge in really far, as you saw. The 2-handed ones do, like, just as well. And also the guard counters. Like, the guard counters of backhand blades are just ridiculous. They do, like, some of the most damage. They do have, like, longer animations, no hype rumor, so I wouldn't classify them as the best guard countering options, but, like, they can still just shred a lot of things really quickly. So, with all those things combined, I think this is a high S tier. And the fact that it doesn't really weigh much as well. Like, it's a paired weapon that, you know, only weighs, like, what, a couple units? You can just level up the one weapon and then gain the ability to power stance too. It's great. It's great.
Charged heavy,
better than the sunflower.
Or blossom. Okay, let's see. Good scaling on 2 stats that are separate yet commonly built together. Yep. Enough AR to support both pure strength and pure faith builders. Of course. Unique R2 that feels fun and does a boat fuckload of damage. Yep. 3-hit unique skill that can crater half a town on a high faith build. Check. FromSoft's trademark approach to making weapons by pointing at random items in their office. Yep. Vitals normal. Reflexes seem fine. Alright, that's your yearly checkup. Here's your cherry lollipop. Don't forget to see the receptionist. Number 16.
Okay, okay, so Sunflower is a great weapon. It gets really high AR. It gets a really good heavy attack because it shares the exact same one as the Great Club and the Blood Fiend's arm. The skill is great. Like, it can stun lock pretty well. It does decent damage too. Does okay stance damage, but, like, for the most part, it's just outclassed by the heavy attack, because the heavy attack can just potentially do more damage, like, especially with, like, the 2-handed talisman and the spikes tier. It also just does more stance damage too. Like, you can stance break faster with the heavy attack. So the only benefit that the Sunflower, the skill has, is that it gets, like, a bit more hyper armor, and it could potentially stun lock a bit better. But, like, in 90% of the cases, the heavy attack is just going to do better. And then the heavy attack of the Blood Fiend's arm just straight up outclasses this, even with a faith build, because the Blood Fiend's arm with a faith build literally outdamages the Sunflower. So if you have the better heavy attack, because it does more stance damage, and it can outdamage it with a faith build, there really isn't much purpose to this thing. Like, if the Blood Fiend's arm didn't get, like, that really good synergy with the Faith build, then you might find some more value in this thing, but it's just too outclassed, in my opinion, for warrants me putting it this high on the list. But it's good, though. If the Blood Fiend's arm didn't exist, I wouldn't be too mad about this. This is okay. But it does, so. That's the way I do my rankings, though, just based on usefulness.
Approach to make... Alright, that's your of Solitude.
I'm not mad about this placement either. I'd put all these weapons higher, though.
Absurdly good strength scaling, a skill that's more dependable than it is flashy, and more guard boost than every other greatsword and colossal sword, making it wonderful when paired with the deflecting tier. 38.5 total poise damage on the skill if both hits connect, and the wind wave on the first half has a stagger value of 3, so unless you're trying to demolish a house with wings, both hits will absolutely connect. And that A in strength is actually a 171, so just go right on ahead and consider it an S for convenience. The upfront damage on the basic attack chain rivals that of the Blasphemous Blade, and with all its damage in one place too. But colossal damage also demands colossal biceps. 15.5 pounds for a greatsword that literally weighs as much as his Vihander. That's pretty ridiculous. Number 15 out of the
Okay, so, the Greatsword of Solitude. Really good strength scaling, gets like some of the highest AR. It's not going to outdamage like an Iron Greatsword with buffs, because it's an infusible weapon. But you get the option of actually having a projectile attack, which is really cool. Now that projectile attack is very similar to things like Vacuum Slice, but it's not going to do as much damage as Vacuum Slice. But this one can track upwards and give it the ability to actually get a follow-up attack, all in like a strength weapon that gets ridiculous AR, and gets really good blocking potential, which is part of the reason why it weighs so much. Because the blocking and guard potential is actually really good. So it might be okay for guard countering builds, despite me not really caring much for the Greatsword guard counter. It's like, it's okay. Like, it does so many things well that you can't really put it anywhere but like higher on a list sometimes. So, now my problem with this skill is that, one, it consumes a lot of stamina. If you see like the stamina cost, hold up.
Right on ahead and consider and with all its damage. The upfront damage on the basic attack chain rivals that of the...
Okay, now normally he has like 40 something endurance right there. So if you have typically around about 25 to 30 endurance, that's going to be like 90% of your stamina ball. So that's one thing I don't like about it. Two, you're lunging in towards the enemy. And you're going to have pretty poor recovery frames. So using a projectile attack into a lunging attack against enemies that cannot be staggered means you're just jumping into danger sometimes. But against enemies that can be staggered, it's going to send them flying. So it does plenty of things well. Nothing like too broken. It's just like it's a solid weapon. You get it early in the DLC. Not too bad at all. I'm not mad
as much
at
as
it being at number 16
clear
at all.
Sure what people are talking
Rakshas's
about.
Katana, not mad about that one being there too. I would put like, they'd probably get a bit lower on my list because I value like a lot of these ones that you put here more so, but...
The difficulty for the boss fight here. I went at her with a Godslayer Greatsword and she didn't even move the entire fight. I don't know. People really out here flicking rubber bands at a boss and saying they have too much poise when they don't flinch. Fucking anyways. There is exactly one situation where the Rakshasa Katana is outperformed by the Dragon Hunter. And that's if you've been slamming through the game on a pure strength build and suddenly decide you want to start leveling Dex instead of just using a larval tier like everyone else. On Dex builds, Rakshasa wins. On quality builds, Rakshasa wins. On every build that isn't wholly devoted to strength, Rakshasa will win, and why in the holy shit are you using a katana if you're a strength build anyways? Number 14.
What's wrong with using, I don't know, you build around the weapon that you want to use. Like, I don't know, sometimes you want to use a strength-based weapon because you want to two-hand it, and you're probably going to get more damage with the strength infusion. Anyway, it's great. I like the regular Great Katana better, because even though this can get higher AR, the Great Katana can proc bleed faster by the fact that it can be infused and buffed and whatnot. So it can result in this better damage. And then you can infuse it with skills that are probably better than Weed Cutter in my opinion. But the thing does get ridiculously good hype armor. And in fact, all the other Great Katanas don't even get any hype armor for some reason. I don't know why, because like they get the same speeds and stance damage values as things like Curved Greatswords. And Curved Greatswords get hype armor. But thankfully this one does. And it actually gets just as much hype armor is like a colossal sword and like not a colossal, I think it's like a great axe. Gets just as much hype armor with, which is really good. And in terms of its skill, Weed Cutter, it does come out really fast. It can stun lock pretty well. Only consumes like 8 FP per like couple swings or something like that. So it's efficient, decent DPS. Catch, thank you for the follow. Now the problem is that like alongside this boosted hype armor, you also take more damage. So like in the middle of the animation, you get more hype armor, but you take like 10% or so more damage. So is that a trade-off is probably better for PvP than it is for PvE. Kodor, thank you for the follow as well. And Orig too. Thank you, man. So yeah, because in PvE, there's going to be lots of bosses that are just going to stagger you no matter what. Doesn't matter how much hyper armor you have. So in like, especially some of the DLC bosses is going to be more of a downside, if anything. The fact that you're just taking bonus damage based in the middle of an attack combo. So that, I think those reasons, the fact that it doesn't like, you know, there's not much synergy with different types of builds as like the regular Great Katana has. The fact that you take bonus damage. I think it's a fine spot because it's still amazing, but I think that I like the Great Katana a lot more, which you put at number like 40 or something like that.
Will win the Black Steel Great
I put it lower, but it's fine.
Hammer. Unlike the Twin Blade, the Black Steel Great Hammer has an extra secondary flavor to its profile, which is the burst of holy damage immediately after performing a guard counter, which I also did not think would do anything. I've been very impressed with this game's item descriptions lately. Normally, this is the kind of thing you'd see on just a basic sword that hands out shit bags of holy damage just because the game said so, but not with this. Sacred Affinity will boost the damage of the guard counter's holy explosion by a significant amount, but the standard affinity also gets much more from weapon buffs like Order's Blade. Prayerful Strike is also incredibly fun to use, and even the heavy affinity still gets a massive amount of punch from it just because there's so much physical damage. As long as you even roughly know what you're doing, it's pretty much impossible to make this a bad weapon. Number 13.
Yeah, true. Okay, so the Black Steel Great Hammer, it gets like decent damage. I think its best damage is with like a heavy infusion alongside things like Order's Blade that can help maximize the damage the most. Now, using weapon buffs can be a bit tedious sometimes, so you probably just want to go into a Sacred Infusion. And with a Sacred Infusion, I think it can get some of the most damage. I don't think it gets as much as things like the Curved Great Club for a Great Hammer. And the Curved Great Club can just get more range. You get it earlier in the game as well. But this thing actually does get the unique guard counter that actually results in an AoE attack. Now, when you actually hit with the whole AoE and the guard counter in combo, it can be like just as much stance damage as like a colossal weapon, probably even more so with its guard counter. Now, the unfortunate thing about it is that the AoE itself obviously is going to scale off Faith. So if you're actually going to go into like a strength build, you're not going to get much damage out of it. Even if you do go into a Faith build, that AoE doesn't really get that much damage either. And it gets like 8 or so stance damage. And there are some times where it just misses. Like sometimes a boss could just like dodge it and you just don't hit with the AoE. And in the instance that you're just not hitting with the AoE, you're actually doing less stance damage and less damage than every other Great Hammer guard counter, which is like super annoying. Because like the initial guard counter attack with the weapon directly actually does less stance damage than all the other Great Hammers. But like with the AoE combined, it does the most. So that's kind of annoying. I wish it was like just really good damage and good stance damage with the weapon, and then the AoE was just on top of that. But like, sometimes it can be the best one, but sometimes it can also just be the worst guard counter as well. So that's kind of annoying about it. Kind of wish that that wasn't really the case, and the AoE just did a bit more damage. Would have been cool, but it does well. Not a bad weapon by any means. I wouldn't put it this high though. Does okay.
And the heavy have been roughly known or greatsword.
It's not a bad spot, I guess. I might have put it high. I don't know. We'll see what's going to be higher than this. I don't know. I'm kind of concerned now because I've seen so many more I think so many S2 weapons be around here, so I'm like, how many weapons are left? I don't want to think about it.
The exact moment when it was decided, fuck it. Arcane builds can just use whatever the goddamn fuck they want. This is one of the few cases where a high arcane stat can improve both the physical and magic power of the weapon, so even though this sword only climbs to 47 arcane scaling, leveling it seems to provide a total AR very similar to strength builds, even though the strength scaling is nearly twice.
I was like, why is this higher? But I realized 35 strength. I'm like, what? Okay.
As much. Another little piece of trivia I would have never found or had even guessed it was there if I hadn't seen it myself under the attack element correct param. I'd say thanks FromSoft in a really snarky, venomous tone, but this little bit of knowledge actually resulted in a weapon being better than I thought it was. So thanks FromSoft. How kind of you. Number 12, the
Okay, so the Ancient Meteoric or Greatsword is fantastic. It's the longest colossal sword in the game. Gets really good damage, good with like, strength arcane builds. Scales best off strength, and you want to boost your physical damage more so than anything else. So going all into strength until you like hit the soft caps and just going into more arcane. Probably going to be for the best, but in terms of its skill, this thing just lunges incredibly far right into an enemy. The follow-up attack can like send smaller enemies flying. Does some decent stance damage. It's just great. And that follow-up attack actually does scale off AR. So it actually is mainly going to be doing physical damage. And it gets the Zweihänder heavy attack poke. So it's like, you get like a really good charged heavy attack. You get a skill that can lunge in really far, which the skill is not going to be that good against enemies that have smaller openings. Because like it's somewhat of a longer animation, and if you're close to them already, you're not going to really benefit. But that's where the heavy attack comes into play, because the heavy attack is incredible. It's going to do piercing damage. It's going to be just really high damage in general. It's fantastic, and it's going to be a bit faster than the other Colossal Sword heavy attacks too. So, S tier, it's great.
The Dancing Blade of Rana.
Dancing Blade of Rana would not put it. I think I don't know. We'll see.
Another 171 in
It's
scaling.
good.
So for all intents and purposes, just pretend
What's up, CMD? How things, man?
it's an S. And okay, listen, I get that you can compare two different weapons and the letter like turns blue if the scaling is technically higher, but I don't feel like I'm ungrateful for bitching about this. This isn't exactly the longest list I've done or anything, but I feel like I keep finding random instances where something was almost an S or barely a B. Like, fuck, man, just use numbers. I'm loath to call this a casting stick because the highlight of this entire weapon is very obviously the unique skill it comes with, but I also feel like the phrase casting stick comes with a very specifically negative reputation, even though that's like exactly what it is. There are a couple benefits here and there though. It's probably the lightest paired weapon I've ever used. It does still get slightly outperformed.
Is the backhand blades lighter than this? I don't know.
By a few keen affinity curved swords like the Bandit's Curved Sword and
And I'm pretty sure like a fist weapon will be lighter than this, right? Lightest paired weapon. I'm sure the backhand, the hand-to-hand arts are 0.5 units, right? Or 1 unit? I don't know.
Grossmesser, but power stancing them usually means double the weight, so it may not be the more efficient option for a pure dex build. Number 11, the sword.
I'm so concerned about the top 10 right now. Anyway, so number 12. Okay, so the Dancing Blade of Rana. It's good. It's good. It gets really good dexterity scaling. It can actually outdamage like most other weapons with a pure dex build. Now, once you've really hit like the soft caps of dexterity, you're not going to really benefit much. So like at later levels, you're better off going elsewhere, like the Falx, because the Falx actually gets a decent strength scaling. So with a quality build, that one is going to be better. And it also does bleed. And the skill is probably going to be better too, because like it lunges in far, can stun lock a bit better. But when you have a longer opening, the Dancing Blade of Rana can just do more damage. So against enemies that give you longer openings, the skill of this weapon can just outdamage the Falx, like 100%. Like, especially with the multi-hit talismans, maybe like the Dancer set as well, if you want to go that way. Hey, thank you for the follow. So yeah, this weapon can just straight up shred. Now, in the DLC, there's not going to be many instances where you get longer openings. But throughout most parts of the base game, this thing can just straight up just cheese on like a lot of different types of bosses, especially like the larger ones. Because you can just hold onto the button and just benefit. And it's like only like 2 FP per attack, and it's like not even that much stamina cost too. Like, it's just actually insane sometimes. Yeah, this thing can just straight up fuck. But I still think it's outclassed by the Falx, because the Falx just has more circumstances to where it's probably useful, because it's not only just good against enemies that give you like longer openings, but ones that give you shorter openings too. But the thing is, it is a paired curved sword. You're gonna get the power sensing curved sword moveset. So in instances to where you're not gonna really get a long opening, you could just use the movesets, but I still think the Falx just does better. So but it's still like probably deserving of like an A tier minimum. I probably put it a bit lower, but I'm not too mad about this.
Curve, so it may not. Very unique legendary
Okay, let's talk about it.
tier armament that can be buffed and infused like a normal weapon.
Watching on YouTube, decided to deserve a Twitch follow. Thank you, man. He's judging them just as they are, independent of builds. Yeah. I don't know what you mean exactly, but yeah.
The single feature that allowed it to become the warhorse that it is. All the status infusions receive extremely high build-up numbers and still hold on to high Bs in the strength department. The occult scaling gives it 724 AR with 80s in strength and arcane. The spinning gravity thrust it comes equipped with can make it one of the most surprising dark horse candidates in the game for dealing great status, and 174 strength scaling on the heavy affinity. Just literally one single point away from an S. Use a fucking number system. God damn it. Number 10 and 9, Dryleaf Arts and Danes. Use a fucking
I want to combine those two weapons. Okay, so the sword lens does stupid fucking damage. This is just such busted, broken damage. This thing can out-damage the Rusted Anchor. It can out-damage, I think, almost a Knight Rider's Glaive, I believe. Probably not much of that. It can out-damage the Great Stars, and it's a heavy thrusting sword. Now, Now, like you said, like the downside is going to be its heavy attack because it shares the exact same heavy attack as a great spear, but it, it can outdamage all the great spears too. But that could also be a positive, because the guard counters of the great spears is going to be better than the heavy thrusting swords, and this gets that great spear guard counter because it comes out really fast, whether it's one-handed or two-handed, and the fact that it does piercing damage means that it's perfect for a guard counter, but one of the best weapons for that type of build. But also, does any like types of skills that are poking attack skills, things like piercing fang, impaling thrust, repeating thrust, all those types of skills are going to get the most damage with this weapon. Like, it just, this one is like the weapon to pair alongside that. It's like the best L2 stick, one of the best deflecting weapons, one of the best shield poking weapons too. Some of the highest two-handed, like, this light attack DPS. Like, it just, it's busted. It is busted. Hayes, thank you for the Prime sub. Thank you, man. W's for Hayes with the Prime subscription. Does it go well with quality? No. And also another thing, it gets boosted status build-up. So when you pair it alongside a Frost or a Bleed Infusion, it gets just as much status build-up as a Colossal Sword. So it's like, anything that you really do, it's basically just like either going into a Bleed Infusion or a Heavy Infusion. But yeah, a Heavy Infused Sword Lance can outdamage a Quality Infused Sword Lance, even like an 80-80. I think, almost, around about there. But yeah, even with like a Bleed Infusion, it still gets like a B scaling in strength. It's kind of crazy. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. This should be like, I'd probably put this like number 2 for me. Anyway, I see you, Megan. You have a good one. Running heavy is awful. Yeah, the heavy thrusting sword running heavy attack is much better in my opinion. It could be good to like proc the multi-hit talismans because it hits multiple times. So that's like the only downside you can say about an otherwise just broken ass weapon.
Going on the heavy. God damn it. Weapons, which is that everything in the...
I love them. I love the hand-to-hand arts. Not as much as some of these things though. But I love them though. And I would separate them because they're still a bit different. They're different enough. They're both for different types of builds, but anyway.
Two-handed moveset, except the very final attack in the chain hits twice. Normally, this is accompanied with vastly lowered attack MVs around 60 to 70 range, but with the two dryleaf weapons, all attacks in the chain stay roughly around 100, with the final attack clocking in at 106, resulting in nearly twice the efficiency when two-handing, and I actually just pulled up Animation Studio. Yeah, even the final attack does technically hit twice. Like, there's 2 hitboxes involved, which means 2 attacks are being applied. So yeah, literally all the attacks in the chain hit twice. This is also a large reason why the two weapons tend to effortlessly munch up enemy poise. Even the poise MVs are different for each attack, and they're different in a way that reflects the fact that they knew they were creating a weapon that had a shitload of attacks in it. They really did try to be as careful as possible picking out the exact right numbers here, and it's still stronger than like 95% of the other shit in the game. Dane's footwork also gets boosted by the Shattered Stone Talisman and the Divine Bird Greaves, and has the same amount of attacks and very similar MVs across the board, which just makes it an objectively better choice. Number 8.
No. Okay. I disagree. So when it comes to like the light attack combos of the hand-to-hand arts, I don't really care for them that much because the damage is pretty low. Like this thing can get like dagger types of like AR. And the speeds are going to be like basically just as fast, but the heavy attacks, specifically the uncharged heavy attacks, are like faster than like light attacks of like almost any weapon in the entire game. And they could be like almost just as fast as like the light attack combos of this weapon. So you're better off literally just spamming uncharged heavy attacks because it's going to do more damage, higher DPS, and more poise damage. And the heavy attacks actually do a little bit of an AoE. So that has like a little bit of extended range, better hitboxes. So you're just better off just spamming the uncharged heavy attacks the entire time. And in that instance, the dryleaf arts is just better because it has faster animations. And you can mix up the charged heavy attacks too. And the dryleaf arts is better because it's faster heavy attacks and it does more poise damage with its heavy attacks compared to the Dane's footwork. Because the Dane's footwork heavy attacks only get like 28 stance damage. These ones are like 31. And it's a faster animation. So I think the dryleaf arts is the obvious option when you're gonna come to making this your average hand-to-hand arts build. Because they both get the exact same scalings and same damage values and everything, same weight. The only differences being like the heavy attack movesets and like the first and last light attack. But like as I mentioned, I don't really care to use the light attacks. Even if you compensate for like the Shattered Stone Talisman and the kicking attacks, the dryleaf arts is still better in terms of damage. The only instance to where I would use the Dane's footwork is with a guard countering build, because for some reason the guard counters of the Dane's footwork are bugged to get like more stance damage. and it's like way more stance damage for some reason. Like this thing can do like roughly, I think it's like 40 something stance damage with a guard counter. And it's like insanely fast. And like, cause sometimes it hits like multiple times and it's doing like 50% more damage and then like almost twice as much stance damage with the Dane's footwork. And the dry leaf arts doesn't work this way, but the Dane's footwork does. And I don't really know why. It actually can be like top 5 guard countering up into the game. The only downside is that like, obviously you're going to take a lot of stamina damage. And if you just miss a deflect, you're getting like guard broken like every single time. So it's a bit risky to use, but it makes her like one of the most fun guard countering weapons, the Dane's footwork. So I'd probably put it a bit lower, both of them. I think they're both like solid A tier. Because like another downside is that they don't really get... Oh, fuck. I forgot to mention Palm Blast. Maybe you do put them in the S tier because of Palm Blast. Because Palm Blast is kind of busted. Palm Blast gets like so much high, like basically infinite type rummer. Kind of goes pretty far, especially when fully charged. Uncharged is kind of shit. I wouldn't bother with it. But Palm Blast, fully charged. Maybe you do put Dane's footwork. Probably, maybe they both get into the S tier. Maybe they do. I think Dane's footwork is probably A tier because I think it's outclassed for everything except for the guard countering build. And even then it's a bit too risky. So I'll probably put Dane's into like the A tier. And then Dry Leaf Arts is probably a lower S tier because of things like Palm Blast. And there's the uncharged heavy attack combos are actually kind of cracked. So yeah. If you haven't used the Dry Leaf Arts, I recommend you do. Just go uncharged heavy attacks. Actually kind of cracked. Good stuff. Good shit. And they were extremely light. It's like 0.5 units. They compare nicely with like the Dancer's Charms too.
Gets boosted similar. The bleed
Falx, Armor 8, that's not bad.
build up is really just a bonus, and it's not even that it's really that low. But having
like the other Ashmore, what Dane's footwork, I think the Dane's footwork, it's good at stun locking and maybe good at status build up. But like I think that your heavy attacks, like the light attacks or heavy attacks can just do like similar effect. Unless you're fighting those smaller enemies to where they can get stun locked. Another thing about Dry Leaf Whirlwind is that against larger bosses, it spins around so slow and has like a long animation. But it's good for smaller bosses. But I think Palm Blast just is good against everything.
Having such a strong positive like this on a 4-pound paired weapon with a unique skill that's just hitting shit a bunch of times over and over again means status buildup starts to stack wickedly fast. Unexpectedly, the total AR only seems to take a minor hit compared to the Dancing Blade, and for weapons with innate status buildup, the gap in attack power is usually much larger. The Dancing Blade having scaling all in one place makes it much less of a hassle to build for, but the Falx feels like a better well-rounder that's able to handle itself in more situations without sacrificing anything major. Number 7.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so the Falx, he said that the Dancing Blade is easy to build around because it's one stat. But the thing is, you get these in the DLC where you're probably going to be at a higher level. So the Falx does get the better strength scaling. So once you hit the soft caps of dexterity going into strength, you're just going to get more damage than the Dancing Blade. Obviously, it's a power stance curve sword, so it gets like probably the best moveset in the game. Comes with passive bleed. Now, is it going to get as high DPS as like the Scavenger's Curve Sword power stance or like a Bleed-Infused Bandit's Curve Sword? No. But the skill does complement it very nicely because like one of the downsides for power stance and Curve Swords is that they still don't stagger enemies as well. So things like Knights and whatnot. But the skill can do that very nicely, closing the gap very quickly, get paired alongside things like the Godfrey's Icon, Shadow of Alexander, and that follow-up attack is just an absolute stun-locking machine. Does have get stuck in like a long animation, but if you are in instances to where you can't get that full animation off, just use the light attack combos. It's going to be good enough. So, yeah. Falx is deserving of top 10. I'd probably put it around about here as well. I'd probably put it around about here. It's great. Probably still don't like it as much as its regular Power Stance Curve Swords. Like a Power Stance Scavengers, I'm probably just going to like it better because just get way more bleed build up. And it gets better synergy with like spell-based builds because this one is stuck with Dex. Somewhat quality, I guess.
Rounder that's feel and convenient the Impaler. It's just good.
Number 7. Wow, let's see what he says.
I can't even think of anything else to say about it. It's just a wonderful and convenient weapon in the most straightforward way possible. You want a spear with outrageously high physical AR? Well, level Dex. You want something so hot it can singe the hairs off God's eyebrows? Well, level Faith. Faith actually ends up just barely being a better option despite its lower scaling because it results in higher overall attack power, but leveling both Dex and Faith is obviously what you should be shooting for. I see a lot of people saying this would have worked better with the standard R2 animation, and I I honestly don't disagree, but the projectile range is long enough for damage fall off to really just not be a problem most of the time, as long as you're fully charging it, and it still gets boosted by the smithing talisman anyways. The flame wave on the first attack of the unique skill goes way further than I expected it to, and it comes with unnaturally strong hyper armor that makes sure whatever's in front of you gets hit by it no matter what. Number 6.
Wow, okay, wow. Okay. So the Spear of the Impaler. Honestly, not that bad of a weapon. The AR is not too bad. It's like a decent dex faith-based option. You're probably better off going into like more dexterity to maximize your damage, because physical damage is better as well. But the first part of the skill, as you mentioned, is going to be like a projectile fire attack. And that projectile fire attack is actually really good. It goes like incredibly far. Like you could probably hit, if you use the skill right now, you could probably hit that Kindred of Rot over there with the first part of the skill. It's actually like really decent. So it kind of doubles down as a projectile attack. It goes, I mean, actually you can stun lock enemies. The whole combo can just do like ridiculous amounts of damage. Now, obviously, when you're fighting bosses that don't give you longer openings, it's not going to be the best thing to use. Which is like 90% of the DLC bosses. They're not going to let you get the full combo off. So in that instance, it can't really be that high. And like typically when you have like a longer animation skill, you'll probably just use the weapon itself and just use the weapon moveset. Which a lot of attacks of the Great Spears aren't like the best thing. They get decent stance damage, not the highest DPS by any means. But typically you would spam charged heavy attack so you can stance break quickly at the very least. But you can't do that with this weapon. Because it's a projectile heavy, so therefore it gets 8 stance damage and does awful damage in general. But yeah, it does double down as a free projectile attack, but the damage is not that good at all. It's just not. And look at the stamina cost too. So it not only does this shit damage, but it does only 8 stance damage, insane stamina cost. Like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it at all. Especially because you're going to have a faith-based build. So you're already going to have access to projectile attacks. Even the weapon skill itself, the first part of the skill, which doesn't really consume much FP, it serves better as a projectile attack as well. So there really isn't even anything that the heavy attack adds to the weapon much. And if this thing had like the Mesmer Soldier Spear heavy attack, I could justify it being like S tier, because you have a good heavy attack for instances to where you're fighting enemies with shorter openings, and then you have your skill which can like melt groups of enemies or bosses that give you longer openings. Like, it'll just be a fantastic weapon if it just had the Mesmer Soldier Spear heavy attack, but it doesn't, so. I put it like somewhere around about like where he put the Milady and stuff in the Flowerstone Gavel. I'd switch all these weapons for like the weapons he had here, and especially the one that he has next for some reason.
Unique skill
about that.
Or that make beyond. Does chaining Karian Greatsword into Stone of Garank sound exciting to you? Have you noticed you're out of flasks and need a healing spell, but your magic shrouding tier is about to run out and you want to get one more pump out of Shattering Crystal? Just fucking do both at the same time. Who gives a shit anymore? You like throwing up failing sorceries for cover? You know how 70% of the game's incantations don't have hyper armor? Well, you're gonna fucking love this idea. The scaling isn't that outstanding. I mean, it's enough for whatever you're casting to deal better than basic damage in pretty much any situation, but 327 scaling with 60 faith and intelligence is still far from optimal. But the utility of being able to cast everything in the whole game without needing to switch to a specific catalyst is honestly, it's stupid. It's just bullshit. A lot of the best support and utility spells like the Fortification lineup or Thops' Barrier don't take scaling into account anyways, so that number is only going to matter half the time. Widening your casting repertoire to literally everything and only sacrificing a marginal amount of power is one of the strongest utilities players can get. Number 5.
I kind of disagree. So, like, the convenience obviously is nice, but, like, it's not that much better to warrant it being this high on the list, honestly. Now, the thing is, it is an int faith-based staff, and actually can get the highest damage out of all int faith-based staffs between, like, actually from the very bottom all the way up to, like, 60, int faith, and then at that point the Prince of the Death Staff actually out damages it. So if you actually do have an int faith based build, more likely than not you're going to be using this. And if you want to use more sorceries, then that's fine, but like the Golden Order Seal is going to out damage the incantations that this thing can actually cast by so much more damage. And it's just clicking one button to switch back and forth, I just think it's just way more worth it in my opinion. But like, if you don't like that concept, then you go ahead and use this. I think it's most useful, the most use that you can get out of this thing is if you were going to use spells or incantations that weren't reliant on damage. So if you wanted to go with like some decent damaging sorceries, I'd go ahead and use this thing. But when it comes to the incantations, you could use things like just Golden Bow for like a damage buff, Rotten Butterflies to just proc a status effect. I think it's probably more useful that way. But once you get to like max level and stuff like that, Prince of the Death Stuff and the Golden Order Seal are just going to get way more damage. And I'd rather just click a button to switch back and forth. Because in most cases, you're not going to really combo in like 1,000 different spells, especially in PvE. Like, you're just going to be using like one spell for the most part. Like, you have one projectile-based option. If you get close to an enemy, you might switch to your melee-based option. If you fight enemy weaker to a particular damage type, you're probably just going to be spamming the one option still. So, yeah. Convenience is nice. Not enough for it to be number 6, in my opinion.
Matter half the time. Marginal amount of power is one of the strongest utilities, and it has its slight...
That's fair. I don't mind at that. I'd probably put it... And there's some weapons here that I liked more. Like, I'd probably put things like the Milady, Backhand Blades, Euphoria. Probably put them a bit higher than this one. But I guess probably top 10 is valid, I guess. It's an S tier option.
Slimy little tongue swirling around in like 20 different power pools. Heavy attacks throw the claws, so that's 1 ranged attack. Has scatter shot equipped, so that's 2, both of which deal bleed. Heavy attacks get buffed by the smithing talisman. Charging it gives it another boost from the axe talisman. It's one of the 2 night-themed weapons with an anti-block effect. It has 128 dex scaling that can improve both physical and magic, so the physical damage receives very little drop-off compared to other claws, while also getting like 200 extra magic damage on the side. It's got a fucking feint for some reason, and it has the longest reach of any claw weapon by a stupidly noticeable margin. For pure dex builds, it just doesn't get any better than this, like, period. Number 4, the Fire...
Okay, so the Claws of Night, just fantastic weapons, honestly. And I probably value these ones some of the least out of all the claws. Like, it is like the lowest damaging claw, because of its split magic damage. But as mentioned, it gets like the most range. It also gets projectile attacks, which the projectile attacks, just like all the other like Smith script weapons as well, not going to do much damage. But thankfully, claw heavy attacks just kind of suck anyway. And for the most part, you're just going to be spamming R1. So the heavy attacks just do offers you some nice utility. And Scattershot Throw is actually just kind of cracks. Like, you can proc bleed at a distance. At closer range, it's not going to out damage your light attacks. Like, you're just better off spamming light attacks. And in those instances, obviously the other claws are just going to do more damage, like Bloodhound Claws, Raptor Talons, Venomous Fang. The Proto is going to do better in terms of just DPS at these closer ranges, but having the option of just like, you know, just leveling up an easy to use Somber weapon that gives you a projectile attack ends just a good moveset just overall. Like, it's fantastic. It's great. Great, easy to use, convenient, good damage. Like, you can't go wrong with a weapon like this one.
Pure dex,
great stuff.
Sword.
Fire Knight's great sword, that's kind of valid too. I would probably put things like, once again, Milady, Euphoria. Maybe the Great Katana, probably put it higher than this, but this is not the worst placement, honestly. Not bad at this one at all.
Sharing the same light attack chain with the Godslayer Greatsword is already a huge plus for the feel of the weapon, but it also has the flagship Zweihander patented Giga Thrust as its heavy attack, resulting in probably the most versatile moveset on any Colossal Sword. It comes with the same sort of buffing effect as the Black Steel weapons, only you apply Mesmer Fire Grease instead of Holy buffs. Slap a Flame Art affinity on it, and it becomes the single greatest fire Colossal Sword in the entire selection, even beating out the Godslayer. Only thing that really comes close is the Flame Art Great.
The funny thing is the Godslayers has such a shitty fucking faith scaling. The Godslayer's Greatsword is actually a quality based weapon. It's literally a quality up. It gets a better strength and dexterity scaling more so than its faith scaling, which is funny. So this is very much a quality weapon. Just keep that in mind.
Entire selection needs 31 strength and weighs 23 goddamn pounds. Number 3, the Kari. That bitch needs 31.
Based. Okay, anyway. Okay, so the Fire Knight's a great sword. Obviously, probably gets the best moves out of all the Colossal Swords. The fastest light attack combo. The heavy attack is a fucking poke. It's fantastic. Probably not going to get as much damage as a Zweihander in most cases with its heavy attack, because that's pure physical damage, and you could probably benefit more of the Spirit Talisman. So this one's probably a bit limited because it's only going to be optimal with a Flame Art infusion. You could obviously just go back and forth between a Sacred infusion. If you're fighting bosses weak, it's a holy damage, but like other different greatswords would just do that better, honestly. But the fact you just get the best moveset out of all the Colossal Swords, just get really high damage with one particular type of build. Ends also just some of the best skills in the game. Things like Flame Spear are just going to pair perfectly alongside with this weapon. So, yeah. It's kind of just like limited to that one build, but that one build is just insane. Like the Flame Spear, just Flame Art, Fire Knight's Greatsword is just fucking cracked. I'm not mad at this placement. I'd probably put it top 10 myself. I'm not sure if I'd put it top 5. I don't know. Because I don't think it's still the best Colossus Sword in the game. But it's probably top 3 though. I'm not sure if I like this one better than the Ancient Meteoric All Greatsword though as well. I might like the Ancient Meteoric All Greatsword a bit more. Maybe. I don't know. Both good though.
Get the shield.
Fucking based carrying thrusting shield enjoyer. Base top 3. Hell yeah.
Take the magic infusion, and never pick up another Radon Greatsword ever again for the rest of your life. What you're looking at here is the best foundation for the quintessential Bonk-telligence build. And with all the different opportunities
fucking based.
The DLC gladly takes to enable your guard counter addiction, it's time to consider a tactical pivot. Throw away the spear, get rid of the Great Shield. Eve from the hit Pixar film WALL-E is here to give you both in one single asset. Normal players will get their rocks off endlessly stacking bleed status over and over again with an oversized rib bone, but true soldiers know only the hardest glory is earned through impaling fuckers with a giant detached hood ornament. With everything at 40, the magic affinity slaps. At 60, the magic affinity still slaps. 80, you fucking figure it out. This isn't even revelatory information anymore. I don't think it has been for months. Thrusting shields are just bullshit. And the Karian thrusting shield is the king shit of Cock Mountain. Number 2.
The fuck is number 1 then? Anyway, but okay, the Karian thrusting shield. The Karian thrusting shield is amazing. Because thrusting shields in general are really good because they get really quick attacks, really good stance damage, and they get blocking frames with basically every single attack. And when you have blocking frames, it's going to be like it's the better version of just having hyper armor, because you're not going to get staggered, you're going to be taking a lot less damage, and it is going to be doing damage in the meantime. It's just fantastic. And every single like light attack of a thrusting shield does like 12 or so stance damage, and they're like incredibly fast. And also you get like a blocking attack too. You can like block and spam light attacks, and that attack does just as much damage as a regular light attack, but just give you just more blocking frames. And I'm pretty sure it does the same stance damage too. So it's like, it's just better to just spam that way. The heavy attacks I don't care for at all, because even like a small shield can do more stance damage with a charged heavy attack than the thrusting shield can. Can get some nice blocking frames though, but like, I don't really care for it. I think I just spam light attacks the entire time with this weapon. And also the guard counters are cracked because you get blocking frames not only throughout or some part of the animation, but you also get blocking frames in the recovery frames as well. So like normally when you use like a guard counter, you might get stuck in a longer animation, you get staggered out of it, but with this weapon, you get blocking frames, so you can actually tank that attack too. And it's going to be doing piercing damage, which is great for guard counters, because in most cases with the guard counter, you're actually going to be hitting a counter attack, so it just makes it even better. And now the Karian thrusting shield, why I consider it to be better than like the regular thrusting shield, is because if its major purpose is to be able to block, you want to have the one that's better at blocking, and this one just is. It gets better physical guarded damage negation, and it gets much higher guard boost. Now, one downside of the thrusting shields is that when you have them elemental infused, or just infused in general, that it gets lower guard boost and just lower guarded damage negation. Specifically when elemental infused, unless it boosts that one particular element. So for the most part, if I'm building around these things, I'm just going to leave it with like a heavy infusion. That's just going to be best in my opinion. So it kind of makes it a bit limited. Like all shields work that way. Kind of wish the thrusting shields didn't work that way. And I kind of wish that both of them got like 100% physical guarded damage boost. Probably like the only things I would like change about them. But like other than that, they're just amazing. Just amazing weapons. Like the most insane in terms of stance damage. But when it comes to ease of use, like it's great. Would I put it at number 3? Probably not. But fucking based either way.
And even Karian thrust arm. I'm beginning
what the fuck is number 1?
to spot a semi-consistent trend here that if a weapon is ever concepted to be the body part of something, it's either destined for eternal obscurity because no one knows how it works, or it's an oppressive force of nature that still persists after like 16 nerfs. Guess which one this is? The Blood Fiend's arm is also a
and it got nerfed once, but still.
Case study in something that I've lately been calling hideous privilege, a scientific theory that begs the question, is there any empirical correlation between a weapon's unsightliness and its in-game power? Is a weapon predisposed to the inheritance of game-altering benefits because of its resemblance to a Cracker Barrel menu item? Well, in order to tackle such a pressing social matter, we dove deep into the parameters of the game's inner intestines. Both the charged and uncharged heavy attacks are divided into 2 separate hitboxes. The uncharged is capable of 70% 80% status buildup, while the charged heavy gets pegged at 90. Sounds reasonable enough, but 40 arcane also gives the blood affinity a total status buildup of 188, resulting in the charged heavy inflicting a total of 338 buildup. A very sizable amount, but it doesn't seem like too broken or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know how to lead into this next part, so I'm just gonna skip right to the plot twist. The splash attack, it hits twice. Like, it just hits twice for no reason. 2 attacks in the same animation. 3, technically, if you're counting the actual impact of
I never knew it hit twice. That's interesting.
The weapon. Guys, I think I found the problem.
Well, that's very interesting. Anyway, yeah, I'd probably put this on a number 1, but like, I don't know, number 2, number 1, who cares? Same thing. But yeah, the Blood Fiend's armor is like insanely fucking broken. It's probably the best charged heavy attack weapon in the game. It's probably the best bleed weapon in the game. It's probably the best weapon at guard counters as well. Like, this thing just is stupid. With a bleed infusion, obviously, it's probably going to be probably going to be the optimal pairing, because not only are you going to get ridiculous amounts of bleed build up, but you're just going to get stupid stance damage with his heavy attacks. Because it already gets an arcane scaling, so going into a bleed infusion just kind of doubles down into that scaling, and you're just getting like 200 bleed build up, even with like lower amounts of arcane, which is kind of stupid. And also pairs really nicely with a faith-based infusion, because with a flame art infusion or a sacred infusion, when you go into the faith stat, it also boosts the physical damage too, which I'm surprised I haven't fixed that. But like the Earthsteel Dagger works the exact same way as this. The Blood Fiend's Fork works the exact same way. They just get like stupidly high AR with a faith-based build. So yeah, it's gonna be like one of the best faith-based builds, faith-based weapons. Insane for bleed. The stance damage for its charged heavy attack is like 48 or something like that, which is like way higher than like any other attack in the game. And even for guard counters, Colossal Weapon guard counters are like faster than like a Greatsword guard counter. And the Blood Fiend's arm gets like 40-something stance damage there as well. Yes, it gets cracked. Cracked.
I think I figured it out. Number 1, the Pata. So
I want to say based, but number 1, probably not. If it was like top 5, I'd be like fucking based. Number 1, when like the Star Fist exists,
That's
but like, you know,
nasty.
it's a more convenient stuff. But like, it's just, let's see what it says.
Oh, okay. So we can all have our own opinions on this weapon, but I think it's pretty much indisputable at this point that the Qatar nerf in 1.09 has officially been retconned in what might be the stupidest way possible. The PvP experience here will have a vastly different and extraordinarily bitter taste stuck in their mouths thanks to dealing with this weapon, because some players I've learned don't like participating in the duel. Some players just want to be the ref blowing the fucking whistle. But there's something different about this one. Usually that's a PvP exclusive problem, but when you take away the one critical negative of fist weapons with no expense to damage, people aren't just gonna not find that out. Fists having shitty range is literally the whole point of fists. This weapon by itself slam dunks every other fist weapon straight into the dumpster and takes half the straight swords with it. But the poor Qatar is the real victim in this situation here. This is how I imagine it feels to work at a firm and find out the new hire has all the same specialties as you, but they're like 30 years younger. Like the Qatar just got its contract terminated or something. The only thing they really have left to do at this point is just flat out just delete the Qatar. It would honestly be stupider not to at this point. Like, don't even mention
Well,
it.
it was a base game weapon once in the DLC, so it's like the worst thing. It wouldn't be like the most egregious offense of being outclassed, but it is one of them.
Anything in the patch notes. Just wipe it from the game and have a laugh in your office when everyone wakes up the day after and sees a black square in their inventory. Holy fuck.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Do you know if the Qatar two-handed R2 is still bugged? I'm not sure if it's even a fucking bug or intentional, but okay, so the Patar is one of the poking attack fist weapons, which is obviously similar to the Qatar and the Cypher Patar. They all get the same type of movesets, which it's like a poking attack it's a poking attack moveset, so it's going to be similar to like the Claws in that instance, because Claws will also get that like 1-2 punch heavy attack. But the Closet is going to do it better because their light attacks are just faster. These also get the 110 crit multiplier too. And the Claws also get that, but Claws are going to get better light attack combos, result in higher DPS, also get passive bleed. So for light attack spamming, there is no instance to where fist weapons are better than Claws. But the benefits of fist weapons is going to be their poise damage and those charged heavy attacks. Now, specifically, some types of ones like, you know, the Star Fist, Iron Balls, the Poison Hand, they get those like really quick heavy attacks and those charged heavy attacks, and that's why they're just so broken, because they can stance break faster than basically anything else in the entire game. Now, some fist weapons like the Kestis, the Kata, Pata, they do like a little 1-2 punch. And specifically for the Pata and the Kata, they actually only get 15 stance damage, which is like less than half the amount of stance damage than like a Starfist does. So like a Starfist charged heavy attack does 33 stance damage. The charged heavy attack of this thing does only 15 stance damage, which is like literally less than a dagger. So the charged heavy attack stance damage is awful, which is like the best part about fist weapons typically. So the benefit that this weapon does have is obviously like straight sword types of fucking range, but like you still get, you know, the quicker speeds of a fist weapon. But being that the moveset doesn't hit simultaneously, it's still going to be like not really as good as a claw. And claws can get some like almost just as much range. Not maybe still about half the round of range, honestly. But one funny thing about the Pata, about fist weapons in general, is that when you have them one-handed, they all get the exact same moveset. And a one-handed fist heavy attack actually does 30 stance damage. So the Pata one-handed charged heavy attack does twice as much stance damage as the two-handed charged heavy attack. And it actually does come out really fast. So if you were to just use this as like a straight sword and just like have it one-handed and not two-handed, it's literally better than having it, you know, just two-handed. You could actually power stance it and just have two patas, one hand, one of the other, so that way you can still benefit of the power stancing light attack combo and just benefit of the really good poking heavy attacks. Because obviously piercing damage, 30 stance damage in like a really fast animation, it can be like a nice alternative to the Starfist. So if you actually don't like the Starfist range on its heavy attacks, but you still want a benefit of really good stance damage, I would just one-hand the Pata. More than a Starfist? No. The Starfist gets 33 stance damage with a two-handed charged heavy attack. And this one's one-handed charged heavy attack is 30 stance damage. Also less. When you put on Cragblade, it'll be just as much as the Starfist. And it'll be like probably just as fast an animation, probably even faster. And it's going to do piercing damage and have way more range. So the Pata is honestly like a really fucking good weapon. I probably like it better one-handed than two-handed for that specific reason. Because, you know, you're getting piercing damage and you're getting like straight sword types of range. And it's like really fucking quick. So I think it's a good Starfist alternative if you just don't like the Starfist range. But like, for light attacks, claws are still going to outclass it. And for heavy attacks, the Starfist is still going to outclass it. But yeah. And actually does get 110 crit. So actually when you do get a stance break, you can benefit of more crit damage. So I think it's like a very solid weapon. It's a bit weird when two-handed though. So I think it's like a high A tier. Honestly, if this thing was like top 10, I'd be like, that's a based pick right there. But number 1, I have a Blood Fiend's Arm, the Carry and Thrusting Shield, the Sword Lance, the Milady, Backhand Blades, the Great Katana. I don't know about them. Claws of Night. Yeah, Claws of Night's good, yeah. I don't mind the Claws of Night placement. Where do you put it? Number 5, yeah. I'd probably put it like between 5 and 10. Probably put it around about number 10 for me. Balatro should have been number 1.
Oh, just delete the Qatar. It's just whiteware and mobile devices. And if
War Thunder, cool.
your office,
anyway,
when everyone wakes up the day after.
The Pata. He put individual chapters and timestamps for every single one. That I would never do that. I'm never that nice to you guys under any circumstance. I put timestamps for like max like 50 or 60, maybe if I'm feeling generous. Not for 100. Hell no. Why does the Starfist do piercing damage? Oh, why doesn't it? Oh, yeah, I don't know. The spikes it is for sure? Yeah, I guess so. That would have been pretty interesting for those piercing damage. Great Katana at number 40s. Yeah. So, Blood Fiend's Arm, valid. That's valid, you know. I think like the most egregious ones, like Pata is like way too high, obviously. The Staff of the Great Beyond is way too high. Spirit of the Impaler is way too high. I think the Dryleaf Arts is a bit too high, not way too high though. Some of these things I'd put a bit lower, like Dancing Blade of Rana. Sword Lance I'd probably put at number 2. That's kind of valid. Black's still a bit too high. Rikshasas I'd probably move it down a bit as well. I'd put that one a bit further down. I think like just moving up the Backhand Blades, moving up the Aporia. Red Bear's Claws is kind of valid in that spot, maybe a bit higher. Death Knight Longhaft Axe, Flowerstone Gavel, Milady. They could all be like closest towards the top 10 in the top 10 themselves. Starline Sword is a bit too high. Gazing Finger could have been a bit higher. Sword of Knights, maybe. The Great Katana should have been way higher. So yeah. I don't think it was like the worst list. Rolana's gonna be higher too. I think it's the worst list. He just didn't know about some stuff. Blood Fiend's Fork is like almost top 10, honestly, in this game. Out of the DLC opens, at least. Blood Fiend's Fork should have been higher. Some of the perfume bottles maybe could have been a bit higher. Golem Fist should have been way higher. Yeah. It was fine. Better than... Yeah, I think it was better than his base game list, yeah. Well, that's cool. That was interesting. That was a fun little watch. He did well. Make sure you guys go check out his video and give it a like. It was fun. He did a good job. Wasn't the worst thing I've seen. Anyway, I'm trying to sit down and do some incantations. Oh boy. I'd like to ask you a favor. What is the favor that of which you would like to ask me? Okay, we're gonna go, I just like started a little bit. I haven't like reorganized this, but we're gonna have to go put them in individually, chat. I don't have this organized, I'm sorry. Here, look up the incantations. We're gonna do this one by one. Might be a bit boring, but we're gonna go through it. Be careful with those gray sweatpants. I'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay, let's go reorganize this for now. Let's go reorganize this one for now. That one can go there. That one can go there. Hold up. That one could probably go here. That's fine like that for now. Okay. Wrath from Afar, Crucible, Balloons, Thorns. That one can go probably a bit higher. Wrath from Afar can probably go fucking higher. I don't know. Probably here, I guess. Anyway. Minor Erdtree. I don't know. Leave it there for now. We'll reorganize it. Okay, moving on. Okay, Roar of Regalia. This shit is actually good. I might put this one above Multi-Layered Ring of Light. Whoops. I have to Control Shift V. It'll be a long night. Yeah, there's like 100 and like almost 30 incantations. I was gonna say first Sword Lance. Huh? What's this? I thought Furious Blade was gonna be first. No, we're just going through one at a time. I'm just going through like the list. Nice Lightning Spear. Obvious number one. For now, at least. Dragon Bolt of Florisax. I wish it didn't do this dumb shit. Dragon Bolt of Florisax. Where'd I put this dog shit trash? Probably here, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Look into it. Honestly, Crucible Bloom wasn't even that bad. I don't think Crucible Bloom is actually a D tier. It's kind of just like a worse Rain of Fire. Probably put it here. Probably put it above it. Electro Charge is dog shit, though. That shit can get at the bottom for now. Bale's Tyranny. Somewhere like around about here-ish. Probably here. It should just have a larger AoE. Bale's Flame Lightning is not too bad, although outclassed. But like, you can keep spamming it, which is okay. Probably put it here. Ghost Flame Breath. It's a good spell, but like, I would never really use it over Dragon Ice, like under any circumstance. So I probably slide it in here. Rotten Butterflies. This one can go straight to number 2. Can you read my message? What was your message? Let me see this. Can you show me the camera how you hold the controller? Oh, yeah, I just claw grip. So like I just have a hold like that. Wait, hold up. Like this. So I put my like index finger on the circle button and I just do that. So like, yeah, it is claw grip, I guess. That way you can just play like one-handed as well. Like, I don't know. There you go. Bale should have had a remembrance weapon like Midir. You imagine if like Bale had some like cool like Faith Lightning or Fire Lightning Faith Katana or some shit like that. That'd have been lit as hell.
Which 10 incants should I use on pure FTH
Bolin, thank you for the donation. Which 10 incants should I use for a pure Faith build? Nice Lightning Spear, Rotten Butterflies, Golden Vow, probably things like Catch Flame is really good, Ancient Dragons, Lightning Strike is really good. Maybe Roar of Regalia for like an AoE spell, pretty good. Maybe like Earth Tree Heal for your healing spell. Those ones definitely, at least. So yeah. See you, fan. You have a good one. My fingers aren't long enough. Yeah, I got pretty big hands, so I guess. Have you not done this ranking? I did do a ranking of the base game incantations, but not the entire, or not all the incantations. No, this is all incantations. We're gonna do all 139. We're just going through one at a time, and it's putting the DLC weapons first, or DLC ones first. Pest Thread Spears is another one that you put on. Pest Thread Spears. Where would I put this? Above or below Rotten Butterflies? Probably above. Midra's Flame of Frenzy. Fuck that dog shit ass trash. Okay, Divine Beast Tornado. Honestly, it wasn't even that bad. Divine Beast Tornado? Wasn't that bad. Decent physical damaging AoE sends enemies flying into the air. It was okay. Did not too bad. I think later in the game it got a bit outperformed. Divine Bird Feathers. Dog shit. Get on the fuck up out of here. Fire Serpents, actually not that bad either. Fire Serpents can slide up here. I like Fire Serpent. That's a good fucking spell. Rain of Fire. Got buffed to be in an okay spot. Not too bad either. It's very niche though still. So I probably slide it around about here. Mesmer's Orb is like fun as hell. I like this spell. Probably slide it around about here. We can always reorganize it later. Watchful Spirit. I don't fucking care about this shit. Get the fuck up out of here. What a doo-doo spell that one is. I was going on Doug. How things, man? Not many good incantations in the DLC. I think those are S tier, maybe. But there's like a lot of trash. Like this is like, what the fuck is this shit, man? like what is all of this shit, man? Anyway. Fire Serpent needs much better range. I mode always stops at a bit short. It's kind of useful like a medium range, like, I don't know, kind of see it as like a quick medium range, like Catch Flame type of thing. Like it's really efficient. It's like just as much FP as Catch Flame, but you can like fully charge it. It has like the most insane tracking. Like this thing is actually really good. And it's like really easy to use. Like it just never misses. Yeah, okay. Golden Arcs. Golden Arcs, that's an interesting one. Probably above Thorns. I'm not sure if I put it above Land of Shadow. We'll see. Maybe. I put Giant. I think Giant Golden Arc just outclasses it. So I probably put Giant's Golden Arc a bit higher. I think I like it better than maybe the Furious Blade of Arnspark. We'll see. Maybe not. Spira is awful. I don't like this spell at all. Okay, now go for the base game. Base game spells. Wow. Argahil's Flame. Where would I put this shit? I probably slide it in here for now, I guess. I don't know. Like, the more expensive versions I typically don't really like as much. Because it has higher requirements and shit. And you typically use them, like, later on. So I think they're just not as useful. Ancient Dragon's Lightning Spear. I probably slide it in here. Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike. Yeah, probably. Probably is still number one, chat. Probably still number one. Aspect of the Crucible Breath is some hot pile of doo-doo. That shit can get towards the bottom. I think I even like Bloom better than this shit, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. Aspect of the Crucible Horns, though. Kind of good stuff. Probably not as good as this shit. Probably here. Crucible Tail. Also, not that bad. I don't think I like it as much as Horns, but it's okay. Probably around about... It's like a decent early game option, I want to say. Probably higher than this. It's okay. Assassin's Approach. What the fuck are my thoughts on our Assassin's Approach? It's just like a worse Assassin's Gambit, right? Or it reduces fall damage as well. And it's just like, you go silent, but you're not invisible like Assassin's Gambit, so it's kind of just like shit. Well, at least it's not completely dog shit. It has some uses. Mesmer's Firebomb There's other name in English? What? What do you mean? It's not the Christmas version? What? A spinning gravity thrust cold sword lens does so much damage and instant frost. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it should be pretty cool. He's gonna make a video ranking every incant. Yes. Rakshasas would be higher for PvP, maybe a little lower for PvE. Rakshasas, what, the katana we're talking about? What, for his list? Yeah, probably. Anyway, Barrier of Gold. I'm gonna put all like these damage negation ones together, which they're all like really good, so probably slide them in here. I probably don't value them as much as like the fortification spells, because the fortification spells are more useful because you can use them with any build. Beast Claw is unironically not even that bad. It's probably like one of the best bestial incantations. Like, it's really efficient. You can use it on horseback. You can fully charge it. Does slashing damage. Hit multiple enemies. Like, the only downside is that the damage is not really that high, but like, it's still pretty efficient. Bestial Constitution, blood loss and frost buildup. Who fucking cares? Bestial Sling got nerfed a bit too hard, so it's only really good at closer range, where like Catch Flame is just gonna do way better. I probably even like fucking Thorns better than this shit. Probably put it here. Bestial Vitality, like, it's fine, like, it's a cheap health regen spell, but it only gives you like, what? How much health does it actually give you in total? 600 health. Over 2 minutes. It's pretty good for early game. Outside of that, I wouldn't bother with it. I'd probably put it around about here-ish. Black Blade is pretty decent, though. I'd probably put Black Blade a bit higher. Right here. Black Blade got shitty in the DLC, though, so fuck that shit. Same thing as Black Flame. Black Flame got kind of shut on in the DLC. Probably around about here still. Black Flame Blade is awful. 7 seconds. Black Flame Ritual is not that good. This is way too high FP cost and requirements for it to actually be useful. Put it here. Black Flame Protection is not too bad, although somewhat niche. Probably better for like just pure faith builds if you're just going to be using Erd Tree Heal, which is going to just completely counteract that shitty ass healing debuff. Probably slide it in here. Blessing of the Erd Tree, which is like your best health regen spell, but you know, it's still health regen. Doesn't really do that much. Which was like percentage health instead, like 1% HP per second. Would that be better or worse? I don't know. Maybe for later levels it'd be better. I think actually it equates to the same amounts. No, actually a bit more. Never mind. Show you 1% HP. Mesmer's Orb. Probably right about here. Blessing of the Erd Tree is okay. Blessing's Boon is just worse, but like it's lower requirements though. So arguably you could say it's more useful, because in most builds you're probably going to be around about 20-something faith. So I don't know, like it's useful because of its lower requirements, whereas this one's like just for a pure faith build. And if you have a pure faith build, I'd rather have just like other healing spells. Because like with health regen, the benefit of health regen spells is that it doesn't scale with anything. So you can actually just have like, you don't have to have a leveled up weapon or leveled up seal or that much faith just to benefit. And with like a lot of builds that require some like strength or some faith, like some like arcane builds or strength builds where you probably want to go into a little bit of faith for some spells, Blessing's Boon is good because it has lower requirements than Golden Vow, so I think I value it a bit more. Does Black Flame Protection stack with Golden Vow? Yes, Black Flame Protection is a body buff. It gives you like 35% more physical damage negation, which is obviously just amazing. But it reduces your healing effect by like 10 or some percent. I forget what it is exactly. Can we see where you put all these spells? Can we see the rankings? What do you mean? This is the ranking here. We haven't finished it yet. We still have only done 47. We haven't finished yet. Blood Boon. And I'm probably going to reorganize this after the stream. This is not going to be like the definitive list. We're just going to do a rough ranking. Probably do a bit more organizing. And then I'll make the video. And it probably might change up a little bit still then. Black Blade, Black Flame Protection, Blessings Boon. Okay, Blood Boon is kind of shit. Definitely worse than Furious Blade. Probably around about here. Blood Boon. It's okay damage. You can like proc bleed on like some enemies that are weaker to bleed. Like in maybe one attack maybe. Just throw it at the ground. But Swarm of Flies can just outclass it, but Swarm of Flies is inconsistent. Blood Flame Blade is just like top 10. This fucking shit's amazing. Slide this bitch in here. Hell yeah, Blood Flame Blade. Blood Flame Talons. After we did our Blood Flame spell run, I think I like Blood Flame Talons the best out of all the damaging based bleed spells. So I think it's better than Furious Blades of Arnsbach. I probably like it more so than some of these things. Like honestly, this thing is kind of underrated. Do I like it more than Mesmer's Orb? Probably not. Probably not. I'll probably slide it in here. I might move it up higher. I actually kind of like the spell. Like the downsides is that it's like not that closer range and it has like somewhat of a longer animation with this delayed effect, but it actually can do pretty respectable damage. And the bleed build up is not that bad either. It's like 100 bleed build up and you can just keep spamming it over and over again. Like decent DPS. It can stun lock pretty well also. It might still be outclassed by Catch Flame, but Catch Flame doesn't stagger enemies that well. And this thing is going to do bleed still. It's kind of more comparable to O Flame. So if you actually wanted to get like a bleed option and just like a fire option, you can just use this. It's going to save you a slot instead of having to go get a bleed option and a separate fire option. So maybe I'll put it higher. We'll see. We might rearrange it later. Borealis' Mist. This shit's kind of insane. I think I just valued Dragon Ice more with its lower requirements and its ease of use. But like if you have like lots of FP, then it's more useful. So I'll probably slide it in like, I don't know, probably slide it in here. I'll probably put like all like the dragon spells together. Burn as I have like Argahill's Flame down here. Maybe I do separate them. We'll see. Burno Flame. Burno Flame I'll probably put here. I think I value like Ancient Daggers, Lightning Strike as like a boss melting machine more so, because it's kind of similar. But this one's probably better against like smaller enemies because like all the pillars are like closer towards the player. So it's more consistent for there. But then again, the pillars are more RNG heavy, whereas like Ancient Daggers, Lightning Strike is not really as much. And you do get stuck in like a longer animation though, because you can get staggered out of it and like only a couple pillars come out. So, but it can just like melt enemies really quickly. Catch Flame. Probably number 2. Why not? Cure Poison. There's like 17 million curing fucking poison spells in this game, and I don't know why. I don't know. Fucking put it here, I guess. I think we're gonna use Flame Cleanse Me. It's just fucking better than Cure Poison. Darkness, unironically, is not even that bad. I'll probably put it here. I'll still never use it, but it's not that bad. Do you know what is bad, though? Death Lightning. That shit is trash. Slide it in there. There is literally no reason to use it over Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike. The fact that it's so incredibly outclassed and disappointing as fuck, I probably even put it lower than fucking Bloom. Fuck this shit. Discus of Light, though. Actually goated. Slide right that into the top 10. Right into the top 10. Burno Flame? Fuck it, we'll put it above Burno Flame. Blood Flame Blade? Fuck it, put it above Blood Flame Blade. Efficiency. Divine Fortification. We'll put all the fortification spells together. Probably slide it in here. Probably put them all around about there. Dragon Bolt Blessing, though. Not the worst body buff. Like, it can help deflect enemies' attacks off you. But, like, there's so many good, like, damage negation body buffs out there and damage boosting body buffs out there. It's like, eh. Here's an okay spot for it. Dragon Claw is actually... Oh, we're getting into the dragon spells now, chat. Okay, Dragon Claw. Good stuff. Probably put it here. Because I think Dragon Maw still just outclasses it. But if you have a longer opening, then Dragon Claw can be a bit better. But I think the recovery frames are a bit too long, right? Dragon Fire. Not too bad either. I don't know. We're going to put them all like around about... I don't know, put it together somewhat. Dragon Ice, going to go straight into the top 10. This is like my most used Dragon Breath spell. Put that shit on top 5. Fuck it. Dragon Maw, probably even better than that. Slide that one even higher. X-Ike's Decay, they kind of nerfed the rot buildup of this thingy. So... probably even lower than Dragon Claw. And Rotten Breath does like the same amount of like rot buildup as this. So... and for cheaper. Elden Stars. Trash. We'll reorganize the bottom later. Just gonna do a rough estimate for now. Electrify Armament. Here's fine. Erd Tree Hill, that can go way up high. Probably top 10 for now. Fire is Deadly Sin. Gabbage. Gabbage. Flame Fortification, we'll put it with the other fortification spell. Where is the other fortification spell? There she is. Excise Decay does partial physical, so it's boosted by the blue dancer charm? Yeah, it is, yeah. But like, if you want a physical damaging dragon spell, I'd rather use things like Dragon Maw and Dragon Claw. But this does hit at a further distance, so there's like some uses for it. But like, I would only really use it just to proc rots, because, I don't know. Too high for the fortification spells? No. The fortification spells give you 35% damage negation to that particular element and only take 10 faith. And it has a 10 faith requirements. You can use it with literally any build. Any build. Just buy a finger seal, get a 10 faith, and you have a really good body buff. How is Dragon Claw better? Huh? What's this for? Who said, someone said Dragon Claw is better? I said Dragon Claw is better if you have like longer openings. Because you can get a follow-up attack with Dragon Claw. So like the entire combo of Dragon Claw can do more damage and more stance damage. We should be using the fortification cells. Yeah, probably. I think any single time, if you just feel like you're getting taken too much damage to a boss and you don't have a faith build, just like go pick up a finger seal and just put on the fortification spells. Like they're just that good. Because like it can be annoying to try and grab the back craft or there's like livers and shit like that. There's damage negation items and they're like they last 90 seconds. You love them dragon spells? Yes. Black Flame still doesn't last that long? No. Is physical 20% damage is the Dragon Crest Talisman? Yeah. The Dragon Crest Glacial Talisman, yeah, but it can stack if you talk about Black Flame Protection, right? Or I'm pretty sure Black Flame Protection is like 35%, so it's actually higher than this Talisman. See you, Scrub. You have a good one, man. Anyway, moving along. Flame Sling is like the basic flame projectile attack. Who cares? Who cares? Slide it there. Flame of the Fell God. It's an interesting spell. Now, do I like it like that? Do I like a Flame of the Fell God like that? I don't really, honestly. Like, it's good to like lead off a fight, but you can't use multiple at once. So I don't really care for this shit. Probably slide it in here as well. Like it more than Wrath from Afar? Maybe. Maybe more than... Maybe here. Probably like it more than Black Flame Ritual, actually. Maybe here. I like it more than Black... this needs to get rearranged. This is kind of shit. Okay. We'll rearrange it later. Flame Cleanse Me. I've like never used this thing in my life, but like, you know, it kills rotten poison. I guess that's cool. Fuck it. Put it here. I don't go. Flamefall Upon Them, though. I think Flamefall Upon Them is like the best fire-based projectile attack. This one's the best one. What I should do is probably have this shit here so you guys can see what's going on. So I can actually read the chat too. Here. What you use for the Lake of Rot? Yeah. Flame grants me strength. Stop clicking on the thing. Let me copy it. Flame grant me strength. You should just make a tier list. We're going to make the ranking and the tier list. We're going to do a nice 2-in-1. Flame grant me strength is amazing. Where do you put it? Above Blood Flame Blade? Maybe. Chuck it here. Why not? It's great for every build. Flame Protect Me. This is just like the Barrier of Gold. There's no like Barrier of Fire. Flame Protect Me is like that spell. For this boosted, the great increase of damage negation. Fortis Axe's Lightning Spear? Not too bad. Good like single target, like almost AoE type of spell. Good hype armor. Can stun luck well. Fun to use. It's great. Might just be a bit lower than Roar of Regalia though. Frenzied Burst though. The best sniping incantation in the game. Do I like it more than Flamefall Upon Them? Is it more useful than Flamefall Upon Them? Maybe. Because, like, Flamefall Upon Them might be outclassed by, like, you know, nice Lightning Spear with a projectile attack, but you get it earlier in the game, so I think this is, like, the best option for that, and I don't know. Maybe I'll slide it here. Frenzied Burst is great, though. Still S tier. Frozen Lightning Spear, I wish it was a bit better. Wish it procced Frost a bit more. Can be a bit inconsistent at closer range as well. It can actually hit multiple times against larger bosses. you can do pretty well. It takes like a while to actually proc the Frost against some bosses. Your Raw Regalia playthrough might be peak Elden Ring content. My Raw Regalia playthrough? That shit was actually surprisingly good, the Raw Regalia. Because it's really efficient. Like, it's like, what, 14 FP? Or like, I don't know, something cheap. And it's low requirements too. And it can like just stun lock enemies any single time you're surrounded by trash mobs. It can like clear them out in an instant. Now, it probably requires like a bit more, there's lots of different talismans and stuff to help boost the damage. So you can use like the Pelt of Ralva, Godfrey's Icon, Blue Dancer Charm and stuff, Roll Medallion. There's so many things that can actually help boost the damage, and you probably need them sometimes. So it's great, but it's like not the most amazing thing. But it's definitely one of the best AoE spells, because Incantations kind of lack that like AoE spell that surrounds the entire player, that it can like fuck up a lot of things at once. So does well. I thought it was gonna be a Santa outfits and singing. What do you want me to sing? A Destroyer of Evil, thank you for the follow. Raw Regalia is one of my favorite Incantations. Shame it's stuck in the DLC. Yeah. What did I just copy? Frozen Lightning Spear. This one's an interesting one. Not as good as Black Blade. Probably don't like it as much as Crucible Horns. More than Flame Lightning. I probably don't like it as much as Blood Flame Talons either. Probably slide it in here. Do I like it as much as Crucible Tail? I don't know. Lots of good stuff. Giant's Flame Take the Ear is good, but I think I like Fall Upon Them better as a single target projectile attack. Because Flamefall Upon Them is like half the amount of FP. But you can also fully charge it and do like almost just as much damage. And only takes up one slot. But Giant's Flame Take the Ear does obviously more damage. And actually sends enemies flying. But this thing has like a wide horizontal spread. So it's good at hitting multiple enemies. So I think that Flamefall Upon Them is the better one. But you can't go wrong with this one either. Like this one's really good. I think it's like A tier roundabout here. Ish. Probably just above Crucible Horns, maybe. It's good. It's good. But I think I just like to have Fall Upon Them as better. Just a better projectile attack. It's good nuke, yeah. Does well. It's okay. Where do you get it, though? I have to get the Giant's Prayer Book. Which is like the same area as you get this. But once you get later in the game, you're going to have like one just projectile attack, and Knight's Lightning Spear just does it for you. Does it better. Glintstone Breath, which actually out of all the breath attacks, the magic ones actually do the most damage. For some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because like I don't know. Does well. Probably put it like just above Dragonfire. But yeah, with you have Flame Gummy Strength, then this can do more. But does well. But I still think I'd rather just have Dragon Ice every single time. Because I can proc Frost like really, really quickly. Gold Lightning Fortification. We're going to put these ones alongside the other stuff. Put it right here. Golden Vow. That's just going straight to the fucking top for now. Not right to the top, but... we'll slide it here. Why not? Make the list a bit interesting. Don't want to have too many buffs way high up. Great Heal. Extremely efficient. I probably don't like it as much as Erdtree Heal, because Erdtree Heal is busted. And I think that's... I'm pretty sure... Heal from Afar... Where the fuck do I have Heal from Afar? Pretty sure that it does like the same amount and a faster animation. This is the same as... I don't know. It's efficient. I don't know. Slide it here for now. This is going to get outclassed when you just get more faith. Grail's Roar, though, is really good. Definitely one of the best debuffs in the game. Probably the best debuff. Good shit. Put it here. Garang's Beastclaw. Hot pile of trash, not gonna lie. Hot pile of trash. It does like less damage than things like Beastclaw. You can't even fully charge it. It consumes so much stamina. Like, it might be the most costly incantation in the entire game in terms of stamina. And you can get staggered out of it too. Like, no hype Rama. Like, this shit is awful. Might be better than Death Lightning, though. Because at least it can hit something. Regular healing spell. I don't fucking know. Just chuck it here for now. Who cares? Honed Bolt. I think Honed Bolt is probably better for PvP. I mean, PvEs might be outclassed by Lightning Strike. So, probably here. Howl of Shiburi, solid buff. One of the best body buffs, but it's pretty situational for everybody because makes you a lot more damage. So, probably slide it here-ish. Here-ish, I guess. Immutable Shield. This is some hot pile of trash too, huh? Inescapable Frenzy. Unfortunately, also a hot pile of doo-doo trash. Probably slide it here also. It's fun against NPCs, but it's fun against NPCs. I wouldn't even say it's that good against NPCs. Because, like, you get no hype armor and they can just fucking dodge it still. Lansax's Glaive. I think I like this one more than regular Ancient Dragon's Lightning Spear, despite this one is getting more damage and actually have a faster animation, but this one actually goes out a bit further. And I think that Dragon Lightning Spear is probably a bit outclassed by Fortis Axes, so this one has like a slight use. Probably don't like it as much as Tail. Like, it's like they're very similar. If I would to use one, I don't know, like, they all like work very similar. Like, this one's really good because like it's cheaper. I don't know. Why is Honed Bolt so bad? It doesn't stagger like anything. You get stuck in a... You can't move while you're using it, and it only benefits with successive attacks. Because like the first attack, it takes like a long time for it to come out. So you have to keep spamming it over and over again. Just for you to benefit. And I think for that same type of animation, Lightning Strike just does the same job better. It does take a little bit for it to come out, but you just hit more times, and it's good against larger bosses too. Honed Bolt is meant for like just roll catching in PvP, or just be obnoxious in PvP. Blue Dancers are just physical? Yes, Blue Dancers is just physical damage. Rotten Butterflies is better than Millennia Incantation? Yes, Rotten Butterflies is better. Because it only takes up one slot, and against larger bosses, it could do like 3 times as much rot buildup, and it's still the same 30% rot buildup. And it's like very similar. Very similar animation in terms of like, you know, length. Why am I watching you at 4 a.m.? I do not know why you're watching me at 4 a.m. Maybe because you're a real Yui fan. Millennia is not a sub anymore? What? Is Millennia a fake fan? Confirmed. Lore of Causality still might be the worst incantation in the entire game. Hold up. Lore of Regression. Who fucking cares? Lightning Fortification. Good. Where is my fortification spells? Where did I put them? I put them pretty high. Lightning Spear. Good, but now it's just outclassed, but it's still decent though. Still decent though. I'll put it here. Because it can carry for like the early game. It's like probably the easiest like single target projectile to use. Lightning Strike. This one's pretty good. I think it's like a good alternative to like Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike until you can actually get it. Works still like somewhat differently, but like it actually does pretty well against larger bosses because they can like hit multiple times and pretty easy to spam. I think this one is very solid. I might slide it around about here. Litany of Proper Death though. Get me the fuck up out of here. We have the Skeleton Killer. A spell to kill skeletons. Wow. Lord's Aid. Another spell to cure poison. We have like 17 of them. I don't need another one. Go away. Where did I put like actual fucking cure poison? Why did I put cure poison that high? No. That one can go there. Cure poison can go like, I don't know, fucking here. Who cares? Who cares? Lord's Divine Fortification. Right, did I actually like fuck something up there? No, I don't think so. What did I just get? Lord Divine Fortification. Here we are. Lord's Heal. They can just throw that anywhere. It's like it's good. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. They can go there, I guess. Whatever. Magic Fortification. We're gonna put the fortification spells together. Magma Breath is just kind of like, it's okay. It's outclassed by Theodorix's in basically every single way. Chuck it here. Probably not as good as those things, honestly. Probably chuck it here. Noble Presence. Obviously, you get it earlier in the game, but I'd rather just use like Argyhill's Flame. Noble Presence is actually not too bad. Probably here, though. Probably there. It's not the worst thing. O-Flame. Well, also not too bad. Probably throw it here. Like, it's actually really good, but, like, Catch Flame is just better. And, like, honestly, I would rather have Blood Flame Talons, too. But if Catch Flame didn't exist, we would be talking about O-Flame. I might end up sliding them higher. There's probably some things I probably prefer more. We'll see. Order's Healing. Who fucking cares? Why do we have a whole dedicated spell for alleviating Death Blight build-up? We will never know. Order's Blade can be useful against some things, especially now because of the black still weapon, so it's okay, but it's still like an int faith-based buff that only scales purely off faith, which is like super stupid. But we can slide it there though. Might be a bit higher. I lie. Probably about here. Why is Dragon Bolt that high? Who knows? Maybe about here. Maybe there. Pest Threads. That's okay. Pest Thread Spears is just outclasses it, but it's a good early game option. And if you don't have the requirements for regular Pest Thread Spears, this could be okay. Probably slide it about here. Does pretty well. Placidus Axe's Ruin. Fucking here, I guess. Poison Armaments. She's like Poison Mist, Ash of War, I guess, on a dagger. If you want to proc Poison. Poison sucks. Anyway, we could use this. Poison Mist. It does fucking better as well. I think because Poison Mist can just like cheese bosses, like some types of bosses, I guess I could have put it somewhat higher on the list. At least it kills things without having to engage with them if you just want to cheese stuff. I'd probably slide it here, I guess. Why not? Why not? It's not useful outside of those things. Maybe if you want to proc Poison in an instance and proc the buffs of like the Kindred of Rot, maybe put it a bit higher. Maybe you do put it high. Oh, there's so much good stuff here, though. No, I think it's a fine spot. I think it's a fine spot. Where did I put it? I don't know. Here. Whatever. Who cares? Next. Protection of the Erd Tree. This one is like all the buffs combined into one. Which is like not really as useful. So. It's very less useful than this stuff. Very less useful than that too. Probably put it here. I think I like Black Flame Protection more than these things, right? I don't know. Because it feels still physical. We'll see. But there's like a penalty though. Radagon's Ring of Light, actually not too bad. This is going to be such a hard ranking list, but this is actually not a bad spell. I'll put it here. I like this spell. But it's Int Faith though, so it's very niche here. Rejection. That's a PvP type of spell. Who cares? It still should be higher than Wrath from Afar though, right? Here. Rotten Breath. It's really decent for poking rots against enemies that are weaker to rots, maybe. If you have an arcane build, it could do okay. It does physical damage projectile, so it's okay. Probably like it more than X-Sykes. Probably put them together. Who knows? Who cares? One point might rearrange it. Scarlet Aeonia. It's good, but Rotten Butterflies just does better, so might slide this down here. It's a good option until you actually get Rotten Butterflies, though, so maybe a bit lower. Maybe here. Maybe here. Oh, it's still pretty low. Like, this is so hard, man. There's so much good shit, and I don't like this. I don't like doing this. Scouring Black Flame. Probably here. It's not too bad. I think I like it more than Black Flame. Where to put a regular Black Flame? Put it here. I think I do like it better. Shadow Bait. It's going to like stop enemies aggro in like the middle of a fight. But is it worth the fucking spell slot? No, especially because you can just slap on White Shadow's Lore on a dagger. If you wanted to have that type of playstyle, I guess. I don't know. But I guess maybe a spell slot is probably easier than like a weapon slot. I don't know. It's probably not the most annoying thing. Might just put it here, I guess. Shadow Bait. Smaragd's Glenstone Breath. I think it's just outclassed by the frost-based ones. So put it here for now. Even though the breath spells are really good. Stone of Grank, I don't really care for much because the stamina cost is really high. But the stance damage can be pretty decent. But like the fact that you stay still the entire time while using it, and like the first initial cast is a bit too slow, and it's only like successive casts that you actually you have never used Shadow Baits ever for anything? Probably not, no. Except for getting gameplay for a video. For this video. What was I ranking? Stone of Grank. Probably put it here. Do I like it better than Black Flame? No, I don't. That's a lie. This is out of whack. This is not a good ranking at all. I have to rearrange this. Oh my god, this is not good. Oh my god, why is there actually good spells this low? Is there that many good spells in this game? What the fuck, man? We need more dog shit trash, like Surge or Flame. That's good. See, shitty spells is easy to rank. That's good stuff. Swarm of Flies. Thank god it's like inconsistent, so I can actually afford to put this a bit lower. I can afford to put this one a bit lower because it's like inconsistent. So I put it probably put it here, maybe here, Because it's kind of bugged. Anyway, Flame of Frenzy is actually really good. Oh, it's another good spell. Where do I even put this shit? I'll put it here, why not? I'll put it in between these two things, actually. Flame of Frenzy is good. Theodorix's Magma is actually really fucking cracked, too. If we have the opening to get, like, the follow-up attack off, this thing can fuck. Triple Rings of Light. Don't care for it that much, because it's just, like, a worse... Discus of Lights, but it could be good synergize as well with Golden Retaliation, I guess. Might put it... Do I like it more than Furious Blade? No. Put it here, I guess. There's so much like good stuff that's gonna be like lower on the list. It's super upsetting. I have to put this one around about here too. Oh god, this is so annoying. Unendurable Frenzy is actually kind of cracked, but like I think a Flame of Frenzy outclasses it. Let's have a longer opening maybe. Urgent Heal is like not even Urgent Heal. It's like shit. Vike's Dragon Bolt is fucking shit too. That can go around about there too. Fuck that shit. And then Warlow Flame is honestly not that bad, but it has like no tracking. But it goes pretty far, but it's just not going to be as good as a lot of other projectiles out there. We'll probably just slide it about here. And then Wrath of Gold is like 40 FP. It's way too expensive for me to want to use this thing in PvE at all. So, maybe there. 129. We did a chat. We ranked them all. Good job. We have to rearrange this now. Tell me how to defeat Rolana. Knight's Lightning Spear is the best thing to use, honestly. She's really weak to lightning damage. Yui's too locked in to even read this. What's this? That gives hopes for an eventual Yui Dark Tark collab. Who's that? Forget Vardy. What happened? What did I say? I don't know what happened. Like how Wrath of Gold uses the same acronym as the Dark Souls variants? Yeah, true. True. Wrath of the Gods. Okay, so let's go figure out where the S tier actually ends and where the A tier starts. So I think S tier... Flame of the Frenzy, I think it ends there. And then this is probably A tier. And A tier probably ends... Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's so much A tier stuff, chat. Oh my god. I can literally put the A tier and end it over here. I can literally put the A tier here. That's like 2 pages of A tier stuff. There's actually so much decent stuff in this game. It fucking annoys me. Oh my god. Like, I can't, like, okay, I could probably slide Poison Mist into the B tier. Like, some things I could put a bit lower. It's like, maybe about 5 to 7 things. But, like, it's still, like... Oh, like... No, I can, no. Hold up. I can just very well put some of this stuff into the B tier. That's a lie. That's a lie. Oriflame could justify A tier. We might rearrange this. Okay, you know what? Let's do it here. Let's do it here instead. Let's do it here instead. And it probably some things that I end up moving down. And then the B tier could end... around about here. I will have to rearrange it, but still. We can end it around about there. And then the C tier can end... maybe about here. Actually... maybe about here. And this can be the D tier. There's some things I got to move up and down. But we have like some tier lists. So S tier is top 24. That's valid. And then A tier is like the next fucking like 40 things. But there'll be some things I can move down. This is B tier, I guess. This is C tier, I guess. Whirl of Flame should be D tier. No, it actually goes pretty far. Like, Whirl of Flame actually... and it can actually hit multiple times. If enemies are sitting at a certain distance, like, it's like... just enough for it to be C tier, I think. Just enough for it to be C tier. But at the point that you get it into the game, like, I don't know. Just enough for it to be C tier. Aspects, yeah. Honestly, Aspect of the Crucible Bloom has such a small and very specific use... that it's enough for it to not be in the D tier. I literally killed Radahn. I killed Consort Radahn only using this spell. So the fact that I could literally kill Consort Radahn only using this spell... It can't be that shit. It can't be that shit. It had such a very specific use. Like, it actually does okay damage against larger bosses that are weaker to lightning, weaker to holy damage. And I actually killed, I killed Gaius pretty easily with this thing too. So, yeah. You can kill him with Death Lightning. Yeah, but Death Lightning is like completely outclassed by something else. And it's like, it's just shit. So, we'll see. We'll see. The thing is not that bad. Not that bad. But it's still pretty bad. Flame Sling, whatever, D tier, yeah, whatever. I don't know. We have to rearrange this. I'm not bothered to rearrange this shit. But let's go do it. Let's focus on the top 10 for now. Wouldn't Bloom out be outclassed by Rain of Fire? Yes, unless you're fighting enemies that are weaker to holy damage, right? So, but Rain of Fire is just a better version. Is just a better version. You kind of use it the same way in that, like, you use it to lead off a fight against larger bosses that are further away. Or next, you can use it on top of yourself so enemies can walk in towards you. So, there's some things that it does well. And I actually pulled off like 8k damage against Radahn with this thing. I got like 8k damage off with Crucible Bloom. It wasn't even that bad. It's still like RNG heavy, still like long animation. It's just like, it's hard to hit sometimes, and it's like, it takes forever to land. Like, it's... does some things okay. But I guess you could like justify that for some other shit here as well. Incantations video when? I don't know. Probably like next week or some shit. It's gonna take a while. There's 129 of these things. I have to talk about every single one individually, and it's still not even completely ranked yet. Okay, let's go first, see which ones are deserving to be in the S tier. All these deserving to be in the S tier. Yes, 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 yes. Yep, yep, yep. Dragonclaw S tier still. Maybe Dragonclaw can slide out of the S tier. We'll see. I still like it a lot, but Dragon more just outclasses it. But then again, Dragonclaw is good until you actually meet the requirements for Dragon more. But if that's its only use, is that S tier? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Maybe A tier. Flame of Frenzy is probably deserving there. Rotten Breath, is that S tier? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Is Dragonfire S tier? Oh, do I have so many? Ugh, I hate this. Stoner Grank S tier? Absolutely not. No. I don't like Stoner Grank. That shit was like in the B tier. Yeah. I don't like that shit at all. It's way too, like, the damage is not there. You can't fully charge it, so it just lacks a lot. And the projectile travels pretty slowly. Doesn't really go that far. It consumes way too much stamina. Like, it can stance break relatively quickly, but I think there's other spells that can stance break quicker, like this one. For, like, similar fucking, and similar speeds, and similar range. But it's gonna just do more damage, too. Stone should do striking damage? Yeah, don't do standard damage. It's kind of annoying. Yeah. It's okay. And if you want like a physical damaging projectile, this does it better. But then again, this is in the DLC. Maybe I could slide it a bit higher. Because it's a physical damaging projectile. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Lightning Strike. Do you have fortification spells? Roar of Regalia. Yep. Fortis Axis. Yeah, this is solid A tier shit right here. Solid A tier stuff. I like this. This is good A tier stuff. Good A tier stuff. Scarlet Aeonia could slide a bit higher. I could put it a bit higher. Could put it around about here. Might feel better about it being there. Radagon's Ring of Lights. I could probably put it lower because of its faith requirement. I mean, its intelligence requirement. I might slide it into the B tier because of it. It fits the Stone of Garank role in the strength build though. But with like the claw mark still, it gets like 10% more damage. Yeah, I guess. It's a solid B tier. We might do another run with the Bestial Incantations. Might do that one tomorrow, actually. Might do a Bestial Incantation run. Because I haven't played the Bestial Incantations in a while, so we'll just do it. Are you gonna play the game as well today? No. No. I gotta get started. Oh no, I gotta go finish off my the Crystal Tea ranking video. I just want to put these in the correct tier first. Black Flame Protection, Giant's Flame take the Crucible Horns, A tier. Probably valid, yep. Protection of the Erd Tree can slide down a bit further. Do really the Bale Incantations get Bale's Flame Lightning could be A tier, I guess. Mesmer's Orb is really cool. I probably like Mesmer's Orb better than some of these shits. Mesmer's Orb, I probably like it better than that too. Do I like it better than Fortis Axes? Maybe. I like this spell a lot. Mesmer's Orb, it's fun. I'm biased, I don't care. Scouring Black Flame is not too bad either. They can actually hit multiple times sometimes, but Black Flame is a bit shit in the DLC now, so. If you can't use it for some of the hardest bosses, why would I use it? Lower A tier is valid. Blessing of the Erd Tree. I could go, I don't know. It's okay there. Great Heal is fine there. Electrify Almonds could go a bit higher. Anything that could probably go into the B tier that's here. Smarg's Glintstone Breath. I think it's just outclassed by the fucking Frost one. Put it here. Underbreath Frenzy, Black Flame, Beast Claw, O Flame. O Flame could go. Oh. Blood Flame Talons? No, I like Blood Flame Talons a lot. I think Blood Flame Talons is kind of just like a good alternative to like Catch Flame and O Flame. I think it's better than that because it can do Bleed as well, and actually can stun lock pretty well. So it's like a nice close range fire option that can stun lock, do proc Bleed, and it's very cheap. Keep spamming it over and over again. I think Blood Flame Talons is good. Because I just did a Blood Flame Blade. I did a Blood Flame spell run just recently. I might put it higher than some of this shit, honestly. Do I like it better than Horns? Maybe I do. I like it better than Giant's Flame Take D too. Put it higher. Fuck it, why not? I think it did well. Still probably is outclassed by Catch Flame, but has some uses for me to like it. Giant's Gold Arc. This is B tier. I think Radagon's outclasses it, but Radagon's with its intelligence requirements, like, ugh. Ugh. It's only used for like a Faith Int build, so I was like, ugh. It's like 30-something ints as well, isn't it? How much is it? Like, that's 23 int. Oh, is that what the requirements are? Is that 37? I think it's 37 intelligence and faith. Is that the requirements? How high do I have to go up? How many fucking spells are there? Now stamina cost. Faith and arcane. Why did I say arcane? Intelligence, here it is. Where did it go? $31 intelligence. Jeez, all that effort. Have you seen any of Ongbal's videos? Yeah, I've seen some of his videos, yeah. Black Flame is too low. Which one? Black Flame, just the throwable projectile attack? It's just like worse than the DLC, so I don't really care for it. And I think it's only really useful for like New Game Plus and like later game anyway, because they can actually just do that percentage damage. So like it's useful for like base game bosses and New Game Plus. Otherwise, I don't really care for it. I'd rather have other projectiles because it's still a slow moving projectile attack. Doesn't do that good damage against like trash mobs. And I think, you know, things like Flamefall upon them, it is going to do better. For like the same FP cost. So. So this is still B tier. Do I have Rain of Fire B tier? That's B tier. B tier. Magma Breath can go into the C tier, I think. Whoops. Ghost Flame Breath could probably go into the B tier, maybe. Lights of Mikola, B tier, probably. Furious Blade, B tier, probably. Swarm of Flies, Placidus Axe's Ruin, probably C tier, honestly. Why is Borealis' Mist into the S tier? Because if you have like higher levels, it's still like the best Dragon Breath spells. I think Dragon Ice is better because the cheaper versions are just more efficient, lower requirements, they go further. But if you have like obviously this one just does more damage. So like if you have higher amounts of FP at later levels, this one just is fucking cracked. And the reason why I prefer the ice ones more because they can just proc frost quickly. Like the fact that you can proc frost quickly, like at a distance, and just do amazing damage still, just makes them the best ones. Makes them the best options. What are you on about? Shadowbaits is S tier? Shadowbaits is S tier? I watched the grandma video. Why did you watch the grandma video? Should not have done that. What's going on, Yui gang? I know you done runs with the all Ashes of War. Did you do it with the magic too? Almost. I've done runs with every single spell school, but like most of them were a while ago, so I probably got to like revisit them. And there's some of like DLC spells I still haven't played with yet. It's like a couple of DLC spells. So. Anyway, Order's Blade. Is that B tier? Probably. Rain of Fire, Ancient Dragons, Lightning Spear, B tier. Yeah. Like, these are good spells, but like, they're not going to be the best in their own category. Or they probably have like too many niche uses for me to want to use them. That's often. Like, they do okay. Like, they're not bad. They just do enough. And then C tier, Flame Cleanse Me, C tier upper, but Flame Cleanse Me into the fucking B tier. I don't know. People like this shit, I guess. Shit that kind of sucks, but it doesn't do like the worst thing in the world, you know? It's like not the worst spells. B Steel Constitution, Wrath of Gold, Black Flame Ritual. I think these are valid for C tier. Valid C tier stuff. I don't know. Fucking Cure Poison. Do I really need like 5 million poison curing spells? Probably not. Shadowbait, Garang's Beast Claw, Rejection, Death Lightning, Bestial Sling, yeah. Bestial Sling could probably go into the C tier. I don't know. Probably not. It has like awful damage fall off. It's a waste of FP. And at closer range, just use Catch Flame. Or just your fucking weapon, I guess. Or do better. Aspect of the Crucible Breath, Dragon Water Florus Axe. We used to actually do decent stance damage, and they nerfed the shit out of the stance damage. Like, actually used to be good. They nerfed the stance damage so hard. Wants to know the origin of the Yui gang audio. Well, now you know. Should you use the Halo against the Putrescent? Halo Scythe? Yeah, sure. Hates Bale's Incantations so much. It's like the Radahn's Greatswords, but Incantation. Yeah, they're like kind of missed opportunities. Could have been better. Yeah, trash. Awful. Spear might not be the worst out of these ones. You know what? Spear is good enough for it to be a high D tier. High D tier. High D tier in Spear. Pretty high in that one. Very same thing as Garank's. High D tier. What's the best poise incans for poise break? Probably the Flame of Frenzy. Flame of Frenzy does like 60 stance damage when fully charged. It's kind of cracked. Or some like the dragon spells, you know, like Dragon Moor can just do it pretty well. And Knight's Lightning Spear too. Knight's Lightning Spear could do like 30 something stance damage when fully charged. Sounds pretty good. Then probably Flame of Frenzy. Stone of Grank can do okay if enemies aren't just completely dodging it all the time. And if you have the stamina. What would you say is the best build in the game at level 150? Probably still a good old Blasphemous Blade build. Just Faith using Golden Bow, damage negation stuff, and Blood-Sucking Tyrannus, Blasphemous Blade spam. Probably like, you know, Shard of Alexander, maybe like Carrion Filigid Crest if you wanted to go that way. Doesn't get much better than that. And with a Faith build, you have lots of coverage with many different spells. You have a physical damaging option and Pest Thread Spears that can just melt all larger bosses. You can use Knight's Lightning Spear against enemies like to dodge and move around a whole bunch. And you can just use Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike to fucking kill everything. Or you can use Rod and Butterflies to proc Rod at the start of the fight. You have so much stuff. So much stuff. So yeah, probably that one. Probably still the best build ever made. Okay, so it looks like the S tier is starting from here. Bottom Breath, probably A tier. This is A tier stuff. This could be rearranged, but I think they're in the correct tiers now. Crucible Tail, like, this is actually some good shit there. Like, I don't know. Do I move some of these things lower into, like, the B tier? Because I don't know. Like, I could very well just slide all this into the B tier. Like, these are, like, really good spells that could, like, fuck up a big part of the game. But, like, they're probably just outclassed. It's like the definition of A tier, you know? Like, the difference in B and A tier sometimes is, like, super small. Don't like how Rotten Breath got nerfed? Yeah. It got nerfed by like almost half the amount of times of rot build up, but it's still a way to like do just physical damage at a distance with an arcane build pretty reliably. And against some bosses that are weaker to rot damage, you can just proc rot too. And it's going to be the 30% version of rot. I've got to get this bag on the TV for singing Yui for the chat. Is he still singing? What is he singing? Just Christmas carols and stuff? Or just Christmas songs in general? Are you yapping about these after the stream today? No, I am not yapping about these after the stream. I still gotta finish off my Crystal Tier video. Rot works great with tank builds. Yeah. I think this is valid. We'll go rearrange this later. I'm not bothered to do it right now. It's only been 2 hours. Maybe I should do something different. I didn't plan anything else. I thought this was actually going to take a lot longer. That's fine. Should I actually like condense my Rusty ranking into a video? Should I post that as a video? Reacts to a Dark Tark vid. Should I do some reaction content? Who the fuck is Dark Tark? Is it like some shit posting stuff? You can thank me after. An Aussie YouTuber? Don't say I never did anything for you. What did I do? Okay, let's go look at Dark Talk then. I don't know. Oh, these are longer videos. What the hell is... What are these thumbnails? What the hell is going on here? Meme channel. Feet. Lean. Do I want to watch this? Do I want to watch this? The divorce ranking is my favorite. There's a divorce ranking list.
Many marriages end in divorce. Divorces are really sad, but fictional divorces can be really fun, such as Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story, Manchester by the Sea, and of course, Elden Ring. Elden Ring is absolutely brimming with divorces. In this video, I will rank all of Elden Ring's many divorces on a tier list. Let's get started. The divorce of Renala and Radagon is probably the most detailed divorce in the entire game. To tell you the truth, this was the divorce that got me into the hobby of divorce watching. When you first stumble upon Renala, she is locked up in a tower at the top of Raya Lucaria Academy. Renala is very sad and despondent. Any veteran divorce...
It sounds like a fucking like a news reporter. An Australian news reporter. Renala is very sad.
Watcher will tell you that this is a sign that a divorce took place. In the same room, you can find a statue of Radagon behind her. However, there is no Radagon in sight. This is really sad. How could such a thing occur? If you talk to Turtwig at the Church of Vows, it explains to you how Radagon and Renala met in a romantic comedy from the early 2000s. Basically, he led a great golden host into battle against her. It was a whole will they won't they thing. Eventually, he gave up and married her. For a while, life was good. They got it on like a BioWare game and had a handful of children. However, soon disaster would strike. I don't know if you have ever read any Italian novels about women being abandoned by their husbands, but that's basically what happened here. When Marika hounded Godfrey from the lands between, she pulled out her Arc phone and called up Radagon. He then just straight up left Renala behind, alone, in a tower. Now this is really sad as it is, but there is something else that makes it even worse. Therefore, before I can rank Renala and Radagon's divorce, we need to take a look at Marika and Radagon's divorce. Is it possible for a divorce to result in a massive loss of life? To result in a world-shattering apocalyptic event? Not in real life. Probably not in real life. However, in the lands between, one divorce was strong enough to ruin everything. We have already established that Radagon is kind of an awful person, with his whole Italian novel about a woman being abandoned by her husband thing, and that Marika was probably just as as bad due to her treatment
I'm disliking this video. Radagon is not awful. He's actually one of the best bosses.
of Godfrey, and how she destroyed Renala's marriage. So you are probably wondering how Marika and Radagon ever got divorced. It sounds like a match made in hell, right? Two garbage people. Well, not really. As you find out at the end of the game, Radagon and Marika are actually the same being. Which begs the question, how exactly does this even count as a divorce then? Well, it's easily the weirdest divorce in the game. Basically, the Radagon half is loyal to the greater will, while the Marika half was loyal up until the whole Godwin business. She threw a tantrum when her son Godwin's soul was assassinated by Rani. Personally, I don't get it. It really wasn't a big deal, and Marika should have gotten over her son dying. However, she didn't, and as a result, she shattered the Elden Ring. This is what caused the apocalyptic state of the lands between, that you explore over the course of the game. Her Radagon half, which is still loyal to the greater will, is trying to repair the Elden Ring, as you can see in the intro when it flashes between them. So while they never went to divorce court or anything, their relationship is absolutely over. The very same relationship that they basically had with themselves. This divorce is D tier. It's a weird one and doesn't really count as a proper divorce. Now we can return to the Renala and Radagon divorce ranking. Personally, I feel
Radagon is the best final boss. I don't know about the best final boss, but he's good.
that Renala's divorce is elevated by the fact that Radagon and Marika are the same person, because this means that Radagon left Renala to be in a relationship with himself. This is such a profoundly bizarre thing to do. I cannot name a single Italian divorce novel where the husband was simultaneously the other woman. Therefore, I have to rank the Renala and Radagon divorce.
He does rankings just like me. This is basically the exact same list that I make here. Maybe I should do my own divorce tier list. As if he doesn't think that the Marika one just outclasses the fucking Renala one. Clearly, Marika's list outclasses it. There's no way. Whatever, dude.
As S tier. It is a truly groundbreaking divorce. The divorce between Marika and Godfrey is a very strange one. It is probably the divorce with the least amount of information in the game. We know that Godfrey was this super badass warrior who
only I divorce people. What's the stance damage of Marika's divorce? At least 17.
became Elden Lord because Marika wanted his strength to help fight the giants. And we know how that turned out. Now that Marika and Godfrey were married, they did the
17, that's weak, yeah, but it actually hits multiple times in quick succession. So alongside the multi-hit talismans, the stance damage can actually be really high alongside this really good damage. So therefore, it just outclasses the Renala's one.
the usual stuff. However, Godfrey still liked to kill things, so he went and beat the crap out of the Storm Lord.
Marika and Godfrey, I forgot they were even together. It was such a forgettable, like, just fucking relationship. Honestly, that one's D tier, honestly.
Which was Dragon Lord Placidusax. And when he did this, he lost the guidance of grace and became the first tarnished.
Where are you going, Kara?
This is another way of saying that he no longer had any goals in his life and became deeply depressed. Naturally, Marika was a supportive spouse and helped him through this troublesome time, right? Nope, she just kicked him and his people out of the lands between. And then, as mentioned earlier, she called up Radagon on her Arc phone and kickstarted that whole affair. Not a very nice thing to do to someone, but hey, that's Marika
He didn't fight Placidusax? Is he just making stuff up?
for you. I assume that there could have been some friction in their household to prompt this. Godfrey seems like
What the fuck is that cutscene? Where the fuck is that cutscene from?
for you. I assume that there could have been
That's Morgoth's hand.
some friction in their household to prompt this. Godfrey seems like a stand-up guy. He's really strong and he stands up. However, Mohg and Morgott are the children of Godfrey and Marika, and both of them were affected by the Omen curse, which is not looked upon favorably to say the least. Maybe there was some behind-the-scenes drama in the household as a result of this, that potentially caused Marika to divorce him. Who knows? To summarize, this divorce is just painfully average. It's a hard C tier, mainly because it's just a footnote when compared to the Renala divorce. The most disgusting, despicable, and demented relationship in the entire game is that of Mohg and Miquella. Miquella
Did they even get married for them to get divorced? There's no way, right?
is the twin of Melania, and Melania watched over
Wait, they're
him
twins? Are Miquella and Melania twins?
in Miquella's Halic tree. Eventually, she left to go get her ass beat by Radahn because she sucks. This meant that Miquella was basically
Confirmed Melania sucks.
left defenseless because of a curse. These twins were cursed from their birth. Melania was infested with scarlet rot, while Mikola was cursed to be forever young. Yeah, that is weird, but it gets even more suspect. Moog is really creepy and obsessed with Mikola, so while Melania was away being an awful person, Moog abducted Mikola. He wanted to replace Marika with Mikola, so that way Mikola would become the almighty god of the lands between, and Moog could rule alongside him.
Basically,
we can assume that Moog put Mikola in this cocoon as a way of powering him up, kind of like Dragon Ball, but instead, no dragon, just ball. Fortunately, this plan did not work out for Moog. Mikola just kind of sat there completely dormant. He did not communicate with Moog in any way. Moog was just completely ghosted by him. We can see that.
This was before the DLC. I was like, what the fuck?
Mikola has been growing inside of the cocoon because this arm is really long, so he basically just scammed Moog for power and gave him nothing in return. That is the true Halig male grind set. You then enter the palace and forcibly evict Moog from his own house, so Mikola can take up permanent residency. That's why you are the greatest divorce lawyer. I have to rate this one D for disgusting, despicable, and demented. This is because it's just not a fun divorce. All of the ratings so far have been based on how fun
that one hasn't aged well. He predicted that one incorrectly. That one's minimum A tier. Maybe D tier. Actually, maybe B tier because we actually got a pretty, the DLC could have been better. But the grass on the DLC was actually really good, so maybe an A tier.
Divorces are. Moog is just really creepy and weird. However, I need to mention that a bunch of you said that this is the best divorce in the game. I put up a poll on my channel, and 62% of people said that it was the best one. This is an understandable perspective, because it does represent an end to a really weird and messed up relationship, so it gets the honorary title of the most necessary divorce. The next divorce is a bit of an obscure one. Only true Elden Ring divorce aficionados are aware.
Where the fuck are they?
That this one even exists. It's the divorce of Yura and Eleonora. This is a deep cut, because if you complete Yura's questline, you might not even realize that you just officiated a divorce. You were the divorce lawyer, and your blade was the settlement. If you aren't familiar with Yura, he basically hunts bloody fingers. These are a group of people who shove their fingers up their until it and gets blood all over it. You can first encounter him at the lake in Limgrave by the seaside ruins bonfire. He warns you about a nearby dragon and pretends to be impressed if you slay it. In his next encounter, you get invaded by a bloody
Thought they were platonic friends?
finger, and after a little while Yura will join your game, and together you will beat his ass. He will then explain where the bloody fingers put their fingers. After this, you can find him outside of Raya Lucaria and help him. Once you defeat the enemy, Yura opens up to you about his divorce, kind of like some random midlife crisis guy at a bar. He tells you about how he is hunting Eleonora. She is a bloody finger. If you take a look at the description of his armor, it basically spells out their past
lies if P run next stream from me. Sure.
Relationship. In his next encounter, you find him lying down on the ground, so naturally you immediately help him. He fell against Eleonora in a battle. As he lays there dying, he begs for her to reconsider their divorce.
Please, please, Eleonora, yield to the cessplant no longer.
However, he soon dies and Eleonora invades. She's actually quite strong, but she is no match for the power of New Game Plus. And so ends that divorce. It's quite an obscure divorce because you need to get to the end of Yura's questline to see it. And also take a look at
a divorce trap, just slaughtered the man.
His armor description. All in all, as far as divorces go, this is a pretty good one. It is solidly A tier. The last divorce we are looking at is your divorce, namely the one between you and Rani. Think about it. When you got the Age of Stars ending and married Rani, you had probably only known her for about 30 to 40 hours of gameplay, so you went from complete strangers to ruling over the stars together for the rest of eternity. All of that happened in such a small span of time. That is not a healthy foundation for a relationship. There is no way this will last. You should have married the Dung Eater. So what is the final ranking then? In S tier we have Renala and Radagon. In A tier we have Yura and Eleonora. In B tier we have Bombert and Grunch. In C tier we have Marika and Godfrey. In D tier we have Marika and Radagon, Moog and Mikola. If you
Radagon underrated, that should have been A tier minimum. Radagon Marika, actually the best one. His Dung Eater is so good. That's cool. Watch a Q-up video. He's good at the game. Who the fuck is Q-up? Am I actually just doing reaction content now? What the hell is this? Who was Q-up? The best weapon in Shadow of the Erdtree. Why is there a bunch of the fucking Why does everyone has to have him in the thumbnail? What the heck is Does he just do like fucking Sigma edits of every single weapon? What's wrong with this community? What's wrong with these guys? Anyway, that's fine. That's okay. We're done. Chat, we're getting divorced. We're getting divorced. Let's watch Kai Sanat. You always a reaction? I don't know. I'm not a reaction channel. I don't know how to do that stuff. We're getting divorced, chat. Can we go raid get this bag again? We'll see. Who's streaming? We'll go see. We'll go see if there's anyone else. Who's playing Elden Ring? Already rated him last time. Probably raid someone different this time. Is there anyone else streaming something about something? I don't even know. Let's go raid Captain Domo. You're streaming? I'm gonna leave chat. I don't care anymore. Anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. We'll be on tomorrow to do like another run. Damn. How do you do your hair? With great skill. I just put mousse in there. After I have my shower, I just put some mousse in. Define the curls. I know I look cute as fuck. I just got here. Skill issue. Anyway, thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll catch you guys around. Bye. See yous. Go say hi to this guy.